Yeah, started with that. Started with Ryan doing his tomahawk chop. Nobody's gonna watch this tonight. I bet we don't get 2 people watching tonight.
For those of you, all 12 of you that are watching, who's not?
Go Braves!
Go Braves! Here we go. All right,
guys. Beat LA! Beat LA! Beat LA!
It is going to be one of those episodes tonight for sure, right here.
Grab that hat that's closest to you.
Listen to this.
Get that off the table.
Get that off the table. I don't even know why he's saying that, but we're going to do that. But, guys, anyway, thank you. Dodgers colors. That's right. Thank you, guys, for joining us tonight.
That's Kurt Weehunt's.
Kurt Weehunt's hat. On the show here at Livewell. Good grief, I messed it up. See, bad habit. On the Livewell, episode 3.
Have a seat.
Have a seat. So, guys, we appreciate you joining us. If you're going to join us later because the Braves are on tonight, hey, we totally get it. You guys can watch it. We appreciate you too. It's going to be one of those nights. I'll be honest with you. I hope you're watching a Braves game and you got the volume turned down and you're listening to us. I'm not going to lie to you. I've got the game right here in front of me on too, so we're going to be able to keep up with it as it goes. And but it is one of those nights. But again, for those of you that are joining us tonight, we're going to talk jig fishing. We've got a guy that's going to be coming in here in a little bit. Casey Blanton. He's a local stick, big on Allatoona and stuff like that, but is one of the most passionate jig fishermen I have ever met in my life, and he might be coming through the door back there right now. I don't know. That's just Eric. So Ryan and I, actually, Casey's son had a ball game tonight, so he is on his way from the ball game, and he'll be joining us here in a little bit. And you guys are going to really want to listen to this guy talk jig fishing. I've sat upstairs and listened to Ryan and him talk. It's some of the most interesting conversations that you'll ever hear about jig fishing. So Ryan's over here. He's still here. What's up, everybody? Just keep it open. Yeah, and if the local Marble Hill people come in, they'll be all right.
Close
so
the door back.
Kevin Bolton, Boss Man, Trophy
Chasers,
Chasers, Peter P, Bobby Underwood, thanks for coming up today.
If not, we'll probably
Frank's Fishing. All you guys, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I think you're going to be entertained. And let's get the business part out of the way. We always want to thank Nofo Brewery in Cumming, Georgia, for their sponsorship of this of the show. And again,
Livewell.
Dadgummit, man, the Livewell. It's hard. It's an old habit, so it's going to be hard for me to do that. And it's been one of them days. You would not believe how many jigs are going out of this store here in the last few days. But Nofo Brewery, just north of Cumming on Highway 400. Craft beer, good times. They always got food trucks out there. Again, I say this, everybody goes up there has a good time. Josh is my partner Josh, he is a lifetime member of their club up there. You get all these benefits, one of which is to be able to go in their VIP room and enjoy a little bit bigger beer than a lot of the regular customers get. And he really likes going up there, and a lot of guys are up there tonight watching the ball game and stuff like that. But we want to thank Nofo Brewery for sponsoring the show. And yeah, you did a good job, Beasley.
Beasley.
Yeah, good job, Beasley. So we're going to let Beasley, he comes up here every Thursday night, our youth extraordinaire. He's going to jump in here with us till Casey gets here. And I've got Ryan in the house who's on his phone right now. And I ought to fire him because he ain't paying attention to the camera right now. But say hello, Ryan. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, really good. So anyway.
Wrong camera. Dude.
Wrong camera, but.
I'm used to you being on too.
That's Ryan's.
That's right. So he's in the wrong chair tonight for a little bit till Casey gets here. And we're going to talk a lot about jig fishing. And some of the things that you'll hear tonight are going to be a little bit different.
Don't forget Picasso.
Yeah, and we also want to say it's Bardet here. Okay, and Picasso. Stephen Bardet was, we were graced with his presence today. Is that how we should put it? We were graced with the master's presence.
We was.
Yeah, we was. So we appreciate it. And I hope I hope your wife is feeling better. Yeah. What are you doing, kid? What are you doing? You're killing my camera shot. You're killing my camera shot. Paul is getting upset back there. The greatest producer of producery. Yeah. Video is getting really bad. So maybe I need to cut the game off. So that might be it. Let me try that. I'm using up all the bandwidth. So you guys are going to have to keep us in the loop about the Braves as it goes. So Ron, tell me if that makes it a little bit better. So again, we appreciate you guys. Michael Fox. Look, hats. We might as well address that while we're here. You see a lot of the hats. We've got a bunch of colors that have come in, and they are going to be, of course, for sale here at the store. And tomorrow I'll have them up on the website. So if you don't live anywhere near here, we can ship them. And so I'll have all that up tomorrow. They came in late this afternoon.
Finally.
And yeah.
The hats have come back
Yeah.
to Fish, North Georgia.
And finally a jig show, Tyler Minix. Good seeing you, buddy. So, but Picasso. Yes, Picasso makes some very good products. And we're going to see if Mr. Bardet can pull some strings and get Picasso up here at Fish, North Georgia. How's that? Is that good enough?
That sounds good to me.
You
That
think?
sounds like fun.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. So
We'll get
And,
some of them Vibra shakers. He always talks
the
about.
Vibra Shakers.
Heck,
That sounds like a late night infomercial. The Vibra Shakers. That's right. So video looks like it's being filmed with a fried potato skin. Audio is good though. Well, hey, listen, you don't. We got nothing. We're not anything worth looking at anyway.
It ain't
So
worth looking at. As long as you guys can hear us good, though, because, we're trying to kill two birds with one stone.
well, I don't know what it is. And listen, we're in Marble Hill.
Now, we did
Georgia.
lose
Better.
power a couple times today,
Yeah,
so that
listen,
might have a little bit
We're
to do
just
with
lucky
it.
that we can actually get anything out up here, so we appreciate that. So good. It's getting better. It might be because I turned the Braves game off. But you guys out there, keep us in the loop as to what's happening, and that ought to be really good. So a couple things I want to remind you of. We're going to do a lot of the fill-in stuff before Casey gets here. I want to remind everybody about the Nathan Hurd raffle that we're doing here at Fish North Georgia. $10 a ticket. We're doing two separate packages. The first one is a fishing package. It's going to have a Revo Rocket 10 1-to-1. It's an absolutely awesome reel. We're going to be giving that away. We're coordinating with other people like Ryan and some others to give away some fishing trips and stuff like that. So, and we'll have a lot more that's going to be added to it as we go. So that's the fishing package. And then also the other raffle is for a Springfield Saint AR-15. All right, this is a jam-up gun right there, and it's a very good one, high-quality one. You can enter one or both, all right? And you can just tell, if you come in, you can just tell. A lot of people have been asking how they can get money here. Tomorrow I'll be posting my PayPal and stuff like that, so you can send money to me, and I can mail you the ticket or take a picture of your number and text it to you. So we'll do that. Any word on Aaron Martin? That would be a Stephen Bardet question if he's in there watching tonight. So I'm not really sure. We'll jump on a question real quick from, and I hope I say this right, Usario23. Any good recommendations on hard labor reservoir? I fish from a kayak. Thank you. I will tell you this. One of the best things that I've been seeing people use on hard labor is a jig. Chris Gayton and Aaron Cole, about a month ago, they threw 20-something pounds together in a tournament, and it was on of a PBJ style. Actually, it was a True Grit jig. Sorry, Steven, but it was on a True Grit PB&J. I don't know what trailer he was using it, but jigs are really good on that lake, and topwater was really hitting the last time that we were there. So those are two things that you can. I know actually, I hate to say this, Whopper Plopper was putting some fish together, and so any type of jerk bait that had a chrome and a blue top on it was good out there at that time. So you can catch fish on anything over there at hard labor, but I know that's what the tournament was won on, was a jig, and fairly deep water, not right up on the bank, even though the fish were both. I know you're in a kayak, and so you might just have to decide. I don't know if you got electronics or stuff like that. You can go up to straight out from the boat ramp up to the pump station. The fish were kind of stacked in there. They do some schooling there too, so always have you something ready for a schooler. But other than that, that's about the best recommendation. What about you, Mr. White? If you were on hard labor, what you throw? Buzzbait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some topwater. So Mr. Keith White is over there in the house watching us do that. So topwater bone color was good too. So that's just a couple of things. I'm going to fish Clark's Hill tomorrow. Any pointers? I have no idea. What would you?
Said bank fishing.
Bank fishing at Clark's Hill?
I really don't know about.
Yeah, I don't
fishing
know.
there.
So
Never fished the bank on Clark Hill.
Ron Pendergrass, sounds like you were rapping. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm here to learn how to catch fish because I need as much as I can get help. I know you and me both. So I pay attention to a lot of the guys that come on here. And again, when we really get into the jig fishing and stuff like that, you're definitely gonna get some stuff that you can use. One more thing I want to go ahead and say too, Jig Week. All right, Jig Week. We've been putting it out on the Fish North Georgia group page and the True Grit Tackle page. Right now, you can get 10% off your order at TrueGritTackle.com. That's on every product. We've been busy, ain't we? Huh?
Busy is an understatement.
Busy is an understatement. We are really having to work at it really good. But we're going to extend it. We're going to extend Jig Week now to all through the end of October.
Yes.
So for the end of October, if you go to TrueGritTackle.com,
Smash that like button.
that's right. Hit
Jig month.
Jig Month.
Jig
It went from
Month.
Jig Week to Jig Month. So for the rest of October, if you go to TrueGritTackle.com, pick out what you want, and when you check out, now this is the big thing, you got to put in a discount code. Jig Week, all capital letters, no space. JIGWEEK 10. So Jig Week 10, and you'll get your 10% off. And a lot of people have really, we were kind of surprised at the response that we got with that. We have really been busy, and then people just coming in. So it's about time for jig fishing. It's getting that time of year.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's about that time. Don't you think so?
The comment there.
The comment. What did I see? I missed the
one
comment.
I'm putting in down.
Jig Week 10, yes.
Jig Week 10. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So going back up real quick, there was a comment about going up. It was a shaky head. I want to make sure I get that. It was a question about
Shake it, head.
shaking it or underspins right there. Let's see. Jeremiah, anyone started throwing underspins yet? Or is that bite getting started next month? We've sold quite a few here. It's been going. So yeah.
It's been good.
Some never stop.
Yeah, a lot of people throw those year round. So.
Yeah, it's been going all summer, everything.
Okay, so Ron Swinford, let's do this. This is a good intro into the jigs. I've started making my own skirts. Your comment disappeared there real quick. So there, how do I, and there it goes back up on the screen, how do you guys tie them with wire and not use a plastic collar first? Secret, that's right. Ancient Chinese secret. Can I say that? That used to be on a commercial. I can say Chinese. Just don't say Jap. Anyway, I had to do
I'll
that
give
for
jig
Paul.
time lessons.
Actually, what we do is we band them. Can I tell them? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we band them like most people with a rubber band. Not a rubber, but a little collar.
Let's see how accurate you are. Go ahead.
We tie them with, we put the skirt together with a rubber band collar, a banded collar. And then if we are going to take that and continue to wire tie it, Ryan, he freehands them. All right, and so he gets his jig, he gets the skirt put up to a certain length and how he wants to do it, and then he wire ties. He's got the magic fingers. All right, he's going to be a new daddy here very soon, so I guess he does. I guess it works like that. So also too, let me say congratulations. You see this ugly mug in the camera right here? He procreated. All right, so listen, he procreated.
I did it.
He did it. He did it. He actually went to his first ultrasound today and saw the peanut and the heartbeat and everything. He's been smiling all day ever since. So congratulations to that. We're going to have a baby shower up here too. We'll have a man's baby shower. Is that okay?
Bring me fishing lures.
Bring you fishing lures. So, but back to that, Ryan takes it. He takes his copper wire or whatever, and he wire ties it. Now I have to put mine in a vise. I just do it that way. But it all starts with the band.
Amateur.
I am an amateur. I am that, but that's okay. I just have to pick up the slack when he gets like that. So, yeah, thank you guys for saying congratulations. That's pretty cool.
I appreciate it.
It is. I sure do hope she looks like her mama,
It's
though.
been a long.
I really do. Yeah.
In all seriousness, it's been a long process.
Well, there you go. So, good Lord blessed you.
Yeah.
He did bless you.
Yeah.
Or he blessed your wife.
I bless my
He
wife.
blessed your wife.
How
So,
much he blessed me.
anyway, so basically for the next 7.5, 8 months, Ryan's going to be a nervous wreck. So, but it's all pretty cool like that. But that's how we do it. Stephen Barday, I thought he looked a little swollen.
Burning the oven.
Hell, he's been pregnant for years, like that. How long do elephants carry their babies? I mean, it's longer than 9 months. So
2 years.
it's quite a few. But anyway, so it's pretty cool. We're going to have, my kids are all, my youngest one's 20, so now we're going to have another one little running around here, soon. So that's going to be pretty awesome. But anything you want to add to that as far as for somebody that started doing that?
Trying to procreate?
No, not trying to procreate. I don't even want to picture that in my mind. God bless your wife. I'm just saying, like, as far as the jig, like that, putting it together if you're tying them at the house yourself.
I don't know. If you want a lesson, come to the shop. I'll teach you.
Is that the best way to do it?
Probably.
I will say this: if you're putting your skirts together, hey James Larry, how you doing, buddy? So that baby will be 3 foot tall when born. That's what I said. Bless his wife's heart. Definitely proof that women are the kindest creatures on earth. Congratulations, Pappy. Should we start calling you Big Poppy?
No. There's only one.
There's only one right there. That's it. So,
Yeah, I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Pop.
That's
I don't
what
even.
Paul's doing back there.
I don't even want to know. Paul's dancing behind the screen like that. So, I will say this: that one thing that he will teach you if you come up here is a lot of people don't realize how important it is when you're working with multiple coloring on the jig skirt is the actual layering of the skirt. You can't just take a tab of this, a tab of that, and quarter of this and quarter of that, and just throw it in there. There's actual, because once you start putting it on the jig itself, you want it to lay a certain way with the colors a certain way. So it's an art. I will say this. I said in here, and me and him talked about it. You're trying to recreate, God's work out there, and he's the greatest artist of all. So you got to recreate something. It takes a little bit of detail. Anybody can put a couple strands of green pumpkin together and make a green pumpkin jig, but to get into those really details, you got to really work on the layering and stuff like that. So Kurt Wehunt is in the house, and so Kurt, I want to express a.
Hold up that hat. We got Kurt a hat.
We got Kurt that Dodger color hat. Yeah, so there you go.
Dang,
Kurt, we can get you a Fish North Georgia hat.
Here, this is
right
for
there.
Kurt.
So,
Once he pays
listen.
for it.
Once you pay for it.
Listen. We got Kurt a hat. It's Dodger blue. The Dodgers are getting beat. They're gonna lose, and he's been getting all kind of gifts this week. He's got a hat. I caught him a fish for him Sunday. He don't realize how good he has it.
He
really
Kurt,
doesn't.
I like Kurt. Kurt's a good dude.
He really don't realize how good he has it around
So,
us. So,
Scotty,
go Braves, Dodgers suck.
That's right. Woohoo! Listen, Scotty Edwards.
But
what?
But in all seriousness, get well wishes to Turner.
Oh, he pulled the hammy. Yeah. We talked about today.
Turner's one of the good guys.
What's up,
I
Alan
don't
Pruitt?
care if he plays for the Dodgers or not.
He's a good dude.
guy.
We hope that's not a real severe thing.
At his age, a hamstring injury can seriously his baseball career could go one of two directions now at his age. So we hope for it to go. In all seriousness, we hope that it goes and he can play third base.
Always on good. Always on first. Let's see. Scotty Edwards, do you use a spool tool or is it truly freehand? He does his truly freehand. Everything that Ryan ties is truly. I have no idea what a spool tool is, but I can tell you he holds it in his hand. He puts the wire around it. He uses some pliers to adjust it, ties it, tightens it up, cuts it. So, Dane Hunter wants a blue hat. Yes, I'll be open Saturday.
I'll have to go sort.
We will be here Saturday, so definitely you come on. And but he does it. Now like I said, I put mine in a vise. My eyesight, my hands is not quite as good, and I actually use the pliers and all when I tighten it and all that. I can get it just as good tight, but I can't get it freehand. I just can't do it. It's just it's an art. It's really an art, and you really got it something you got to replicate over and over and over again. So. But yeah, we'll be up here. We'll be up here Saturday, probably like 8 to 4, 8 to 5, something like that, normal time. Ryan won't because for some reason he gets the weekends off around here. So that's just how it works. Now, Ryan, while we're waiting on Casey to show up.
No way.
No way. Are you serious?
Who hit a home run?
That had to be Freeman.
If Ozzy's
Ozzy bats cleanup.
Ozzy bats
No,
cleanup.
no. Third.
Ozzy batted second tonight. It was Rosario, Ozzy, Freeman.
Oh.
There you go. All right, so good start. Michael Temples wants to know how many. Freeman went yard. There you go, Freeman. Where was Michael Temple's comment? Did fly? Hey, well, scroll up. All these home runs, everybody. We appreciate every one of you guys letting us know what's going on. We definitely need it like that. Ryan, how do you decide how many strands of skirt to use?
So basically, if any jig that you tie or band, it doesn't really matter, but you want to keep the particular skirts that we use. One tab has 22 individual strands of silicone in it, and I at minimum go two tabs. I try to keep it somewhere around between 2 to 2 1/4 ish.
Right.
2 1/3 ish.
We don't go overboard.
We don't really go overboard because the one tricky thing about it is the more skirt material you put, and if you guys, and I'll say this, if you guys see those real like full jigs like on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, they have like a wad. I want to say a different word, but they have a wad of skirt material on it. That jig the more skirt material you put on a jig, the more it alters the fall rate of the jig. Regardless, when you put a trailer, which you fish jig with some kind of trailer on the back, you're already messing with the fall rate.
And a lot of people manipulate it with
and you can you manipulate the fall rate yourself. But as far as that goes, if you keep take a half-ounce jig, for example, a half-ounce jig with like 44 strands, which is like 2 tabs of skirt material, will generally, with like a super chunk or something like that, will generally fall about a foot a second.
Hey, you're gonna swap.
We're
over
swapping.
Here.
You're coming over here.
No. You come on over here.
This is the guest chair.
That's
right. I was
right.
warming your chair up for you.
Yeah, they're winning.
So
Braves are winning.
So
right,
so that's basically it. That's pretty much one rule of thumb. But if anybody ever wants a lesson, I won't be here this Saturday. But
you can come up here through the week.
You can come up here through the week. But there may be a Saturday here coming up where in the next week or so, where I may be up here, and if you have any questions, and I listen, I like teaching. A little sure once you buy a True Grit jig, but there's really nothing, and Casey's here, and we'll talk about this, and Casey can testify to this. There's really and truly, there's nothing in this world like it when it comes to you putting something, making something yourself, pouring a jig head, putting a skirt on, painting it, and then tying it on, and then going out there and throwing it, and then catching a fish on it.
Yeah,
there's really nothing in the world like it,
and
true. I know Casey can attest to that because I know he makes his own jigs.
Yeah.
So. Let me get out of the way and let him.
No. You get over here. So Casey's in the house now.
What's up?
Come on, get in here and sit down. Yeah, we're up to nothing. So, Freeman Homer. First of all, how are you? How's the mic? Get that mic a little closer to you there, babe. How's the sound? Just say something. Say, hey, I'm Casey Blanton.
Talk to me. I'm Casey.
Is that
I'm
good?
here to talk about jig power.
There you go. So right here now, this is the man I've been trying to get on here for a long time.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, dragging me in here.
No sir.
They're scraping the bottom.
This guy, first of all, did your kid win?
11-10, and it was a close one.
And you won it though.
No, we lost.
Oh, you lost. Are you out
it
now?
It was single elimination, so we're done.
You're done.
The Braves are
But I got
making
one
up
more,
for
and
it.
he plays Saturday morning, and it's 4 and 5 playoffs too. So
there you go.
We
So
still got a
yeah,
chance.
listen.
The Braves make up for it.
So
there you go.
saying there's a chance.
You
So
saying
you're
there?
there's a chance.
Oh,
I heard him talking about me making the jigs. My partner Joey makes the jigs, and every time that I'm there, we make a batch together. But I didn't want to take all the credit for that. I heard that, and if he's on there and he hears me, he'll let me have
Well,
it.
I know we discussed it.
Yes.
I didn't
but
know
we did
you-
discuss it, and I get to see him make them, and I'll go over there every now and then as he's doing a batch, as he's doing mine, because I'm normally hanging them up in rocks or brush.
Right.
Stuff.
but one of the reasons why we wanted Casey to come on, not only is he a good friend up at the store, we enjoy every time he comes in, but you talking about personality here. What was Jeremiah? That man's beard game is impeccable. Listen, this guy's a cool cat. So
Try to keep it cleaned up, but it gets crazy this time of year.
yeah, I understand.
October.
That's right. So
Playoff beard.
that's right.
Yeah,
Playoff beard.
There you
So this, I would say Allatoona is your home lake. If we want to put a
go.
home
Yeah,
lake,
That's my home.
that's his home lake. But what we're going to talk about tonight can be applied anywhere. And like I said, I wish you guys, anytime you're around the shop, you just need to come on in and talk, because sometimes some of the best conversations that you'll ever hear is where we're just sitting around and guys get to talking. And about 2 weeks ago, Ryan and Casey got up there talking about jigs, and it was just like, man, we just got to have the same conversation on the show, because I would say, Mark Mosley?
Mark Mosley is the reason why I was able to stay on the water nonstop as I was learning, because he let me, granddaddy's boat, they were paying for parking or didn't have parking for it
Right.
or whatever, and he was like, there's no sense in that, I've got it, and he knew that I would use it. It was sitting,
Right.
and he was just like, here you go, son, and I could take it anytime. I'm able to put the kids in there and go, and
Yeah.
but that is my father-in-law, and he is the best father-in-law there is.
Okay.
Well,
well,
shouting
there
out
you
the
go.
father-in-law.
Get better.
Shouting out. Kevin.
He's got a few fans. If you scroll back up, he's already got a few
what,
fans.
What is going to happen in No Shave November? I don't know. It's going to get ugly around here, is what I can tell you that. Kevin Underwood's in the comments, and I want to say, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but You're down there at the St. Johns River on the BFL. I think you're currently in 51st.
Yep.
So that's still pretty good. And we hope you win, but good Lord, I'm telling you, if you do win, I can't imagine the size of that head it's going to be. But we hope you do the best up there, buddy, seriously. And I'm glad you were able to tune in tonight. Let us know about Farmer and how he was doing. I saw it, but I want to know his day.
Didn't catch a fish.
No, Farmer had a tough day.
Oh no,
Yeah, it happens, don't it?
man, I like fun.
Let's jump right into this.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Jigs.
What is it about fishing a jig that you so love? Because I had a comment on the Fish North Georgia group page, and the guy said he's going to pass on the night show because he likes power fishing, and jigs
I
are
love power
mind
fishing.
numbing.
I love power fishing, but there's a certain time that I just have confidence in it. Whenever you can go out there, and I've got 3 of them tied on the deck, and that's what I'm picking up all night. And I'm not saying, ooh, I was doing great. We were blessed, you know what I mean, to
Right.
catch the fish that we did, of course. But I also feel like it comes into hot spots, and I'm not saying that those fish would have only ate that jig. But what do I have confidence in? That
Right.
jig.
Yeah,
And that's why I just keep it in my hand whenever it's tough. And summertime's normally tough. you
yeah.
know.
So what is it about the jig bite? How you fish it?
I'm addicted to it.
I know you're addicted to
It's
it.
bad.
Let the guys out there know why you're addicted to it.
It's just, there's just so much confidence there whenever I can't catch anything else. And I've been so dialed into power fishing and wanting to throw a jerkbait. My partner, Joey, can attest to this. We've been at Lanier butting heads all day long. The wind's blowing 30 mile an hour. I had caught some on a jerkbait, but they weren't the fish you want to put in your bag. They were keepers. And I was wanting to pursue the jerkbait fishing. He looked at me and told me they're eating a jig. And I'm not kidding you, I was pretty much, me and him are steering the boat. There's one person steering the boat and there's one person fishing.
Right.
And he pretty much drove it in my head that day that they were going to chew a jig. And I'm not saying, I don't even know if we won that tournament, but we were definitely up there. And he showed me that day. That was on Lanier, though. It's a totally different ball game over there. Everybody wants to power fish. It was tough.
Unless
And
you're
they-
LJ.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and we were on the humps, and normally that's where we were catching them at, on the river and in the humps every now and then. But the jig is just confidence. Light line to him is just like, when I first met him, he wouldn't even put a spinning rod on his boat.
Right.
It wasn't even a thing. Now I believe he owns more spinning rods than I do.
So do you throw jigs on spinning rods?
No, I used to, but I don't anymore.
Okay, so you like it on the
And
bait
I'll
caster.
go so light on my bait caster, and tune in a rod just for, say, I don't throw a jig on 12-pound test, but if it gets that nasty, the 12-pound test will come out. But I
My
like
man.
15 on my 3/8.
My man.
You're a man.
My man.
What is
Yeah.
it about 12-pound tests that makes you go, my man?
12, just, man, if you
12's
watch
just-
it on live scope, and I know some people are against the electronics, but the live scope will show you how the line and your weight ratio and all that changes, and how you can dance a jig through a certain depth. Say there's those suspenders that everybody's talking about, like those uncatchable fish. Everybody's out there, they're throwing swim baits or jerk baits or a crankbait through there, fish head spin, drop shot. I was literally swimming a jig, and I had it on 20-pound test, a 3/8 jig, and I don't like that, but I could also set it in 10 foot, 12 foot of water where they were suspended and just pop it through there, ease it through there, and
So you
They
have to
would nail it.
you have to be able to fish it not only on the bottom, but let the fish dictate how you're going to do it. And
But-
that's just with a regular Arky style head. You're not even doing that with a swim jig.
Mm-mm. I'll throw a swim jig at Gunnersville, but if I'm at Gunnersville throwing a swim jig, then most of the time we'll have the frog out and he's throwing the swim jig, and I'll follow him up with a frog.
Okay.
But at Allatoona, when me and Steve fish together, it's dragging 90% of the time.
Right.
If not 95. I wish it was more power fishing, the spinnerbait bite, and that, everybody, they can catch them on that, because it's just pretty much covering water, finding the fish. Y'all know this, that's ready to eat.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it don't matter if it's a buzz bait, spinner bait, square bill. If it comes in front of their face, a jig, they're going to eat it.
Right. Ron Swinford says the jig is the bait I have the least confidence in.
My little brother.
I have caught some really good fish on it, but the number of bites that I get on a jig is so few, it's hard to keep
You're not
confident.
going to get many bites on a jig. That's one thing I think a lot of guys have stumbling blocks on when it comes to jig. There are those rare blue moon occasions where you'll go out there and stroke 30 on a jig. There is those moments, but you got to get away from the mentality when throwing a jig that I'm gonna go catch 15 fish. You're not gonna get that many bites. You're just not.
But what you do get.
But what bites you do get are going to be your good. Are going to be your quality fish, and it's
Gotcha.
just that's straight facts, yo.
You agree with that?
I do, and my partner on, say, the Monday nighters, he'll follow me up with a worm nonstop. And there's still some nights, and this year the jig bite was just nuts for me. I don't know if that was just hot spots or what it was, because I could fish behind people. Struggle fishing behind people. They see somebody over there, oh shoot, dang it.
This is
They
another
ain't got
boat.
that
This is
fish.
another boat in an area.
I strongly believe there's an exact cast sometimes at a certain time of year that's going to make those fish fire. And you got to learn your rock or your brush or your cable or your seawall or whatever it is you're targeting at the time, points, humps,
Right.
etc. I feel like you have to hone that in.
You hone that in. Michael Temples, we need to know what ounce jig is your go-to, color choices, rod and reel setup. So basically,
What's up, Brett?
let me go ahead and say hello to my girl Tatum down there. Hey, baby. Now, go do some homework or something. Or you don't. She's a nurse. Get some sleep. I know you got to work, so you do that. Well, she just got out of college, so that's habit.
You
But
tired?
she's making that money.
You tired?
I am tired. It's
She's
like
going
that.
to take care of you when you're old and decrepit.
She gonna put me in a home.
Yeah, there you go.
No, she doesn't say I'm going in a home.
Oh,
She
you
ain't
don't
got
you don't get the basement or nothing
No,
like
no,
that?
she put me in a home.
Hmm.
I'd be a pain in the ass when I get older. Let's talk about your setup. So your typical setup, what's your favorite ounce?
I like to have a 3/8 in my hand until I have 5. If I have 5, then I'm all right with, say, 2 of them that are in there, and say there's not even a big one. I want to put a 1/2 ounce in my hand, and I want to go to work.
You like that,
And
don't you?
Just put a 1/2 ounce in your hand, and after
that's-
you've got 5 in the
Bible,
boat,
dude.
especially if you're in like a point system. And I've come to a point, say, if there isn't no point system, or if it's just, say, a couple of the tournaments they don't have points, or a classic, or whatever. Take care,
See you,
brother.
buddy. That's right.
Go
I feel
watch 'em
like,
win.
those are the ones.
Okay, but so you get your limit,
1/2 ounce, yo.
and then you go up to the 1/2 ounce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what kind of rod are you throwing your 3/8 on when you throw your 3/8 and stuff like that?
I throw my 3/8 on a 7-foot medium heavy St. Croix, and it's a little bit flimsier. And I actually won it with AOI in the AOI tournament. Shout out Cherokee County Bass Club.
There you go.
They carried
All right.
me all over Georgia and some of Alabama. Gave me a reason to tell everybody, hey, I'm going fishing this weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's a great group of guys. They're
Okay,
good guys.
there you go. That sounds
And
good.
First time I got to fish Gunnerville and Chick was with that club, and it was fun.
Yeah, okay, good. It's good to
Talk
be in a
about-
good club like that. Because there's some clubs out there that are really good, and there's some that are just,
They're
you know
they're
what I
the
mean?
guys. Yep, they're the guys that you want to be around, and they're solid people.
Let's see. So, Casey's a big Zebco 33 guy.
He knows about the crappie. He knows when it's time for crappie.
And that's what you pull out for your
Now
crappie?
I've gotten so bad. I'm catching crappie on my G Loomis spinning rod. I got to quit that. He gives me down the road because he's old school and he's a deer hunter.
Yeah. That's
He only
all right,
goes
though.
when the red crankbait fires in February, and he loves catching them 5 and 6 pounders in February on a red crankbait. So he knows all about that.
Yeah, no, but that's a good. That's
But
a
he
good
can
thing.
also kill you a big buck too. He got a nice one last week.
Hey,
I
listen.
think it was. He tried to call it a 130, but it was a 127.
Listen,
That's what it was.
I need some does. I don't get to go. I was talking to a guy today. I have not had a chance to go hunting because I'm at the store. So, any of you guys,
Get at me.
what am I getting at you?
I'm trying to put a doe on the ground. Get at me.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know. Paul's got them all running
Yeah.
through his yard. I know, Paul. I know. But my point was I can't get out of the store long enough to go deer hunting. So, yeah, Fish North Georgia Club is terrible. That's exactly right. So, what color? Okay, so Josh Tatum's coming in the morning. What color are they eating right now? And I guess that depends on where you're fishing. But let's start off with Allatoona. If you're going with tomorrow on Allatoona, what you throwing?
The whole peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly. You're a
And
peanut butter and jelly
It's going to
man.
have 2 to 3, 4 strands of chartreuse in it.
And that sounds really
But
familiar
that's
to our
everywhere.
Lanier
I don't
smoke.
care what lake it is, unless you go to those lakes to where it's absolutely muddy as can be, and you just have to convert to a big black and blue. You know?
black and blue like that. So
Black, blue, and clear water.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody does that.
black, blue, and clear water.
Nobody does that.
Well, let's talk about it, Ryan. Get on up to the microphone there.
Nobody does that.
Why do people not throw? Why do people
Come on,
think
let's
that
take
a black
show of
and
hands.
blue?
Who honest to God, throws a black and blue?
In the
jig
comments
in clear
section
water?
right there, if you throw black and blue in clear water, we would like to know. Ryan would like to know. So
It's rare, but I will throw one in clear water. They will eat it.
What bite you gonna get on a black
A
and blue?
big bite.
A
So if
big
you're
bite.
looking for
normally a
that
big
big,
If you're
gonna
targeting areas
big
to where,
bite.
say, if you know where the ledge drops off and that spot has shade, or there's a big brush pile and it's fresh and it has shade and stuff like that, I feel like, you can get by with those colors as long as it's a big bite. And also, it's going to make a big largemouth fire, but I have so much confidence, and I've seen those spotted bass be 4 inches with them largemouth.
right.
Back-to-back cast.
Right.
And so I just feel like their vision's so much better, so I just hone in on the PB&J because that's where my confidence is.
What kind of trailer do you like to use?
I like a creepy crawler or a
Creepy
rage
crawler
crawler.
or a rage crawl?
I'm a sucker for a creepy crawler, though.
What is it about a creepy crawler?
The way those
money.
tails swim, I feel like it makes them fire. I know there's not a lot there, but that little bit, if that's all the bass really got a glimpse of, at first it saw everything else coming by, and then that's what it's seeing, or it's looking down on it, that's a difference, If it's
Right.
if it's looking down on it, they're going to eat it. They're eating that day.
And
Right.
a lot
But
of-
if you're having to make them eat, that's a different story.
And a lot of times around here, most of the year, a lot of times the reason why the creepy crawler tail works so good is because the crawfish are smaller,
Right.
so they have smaller pincers. But when at the heat of I get Casey will tell you this too. He'll probably reiterate this. Like the first major crawfish spawn, if you don't have a rage chunk on or like a super chunk, you're doing yourself an injustice.
Okay.
Because that first major spawn, big mama crawfish comes out and she's like this big, and you want that full profile. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what right now, that bite with one like that in that time of year, it's no tick tick. I think it's got it. It's a and it's got it. There's really no. It really is. I mean, it's like God Almighty set the hook. There's really no other way around it.
There was a question up there that Jeremiah had.
Yeah, he's asking about brown and orange.
Brown and orange. I will say this, that
JB's full of it.
it was. Oh yeah, so you got to get in there when you see all these things up there.
That's just my little brother. I got to let him know. If it wasn't my brother, anybody else can slide. But
That's right. Okay,
he's
yeah.
full of it.
You can absolutely. Hey, you can jump in on any question like that. So, Brett Cummins, decked out John boats. How you doing tonight? Yeah, look at my boat anytime you see me. If you don't see a black and blue jig, there we go on the deck.
Jeremiah,
it's in my rod
I
box.
do. There is the brown and orange, and that we got into it last year, and Farmer will probably tell you about that bite. We were in that area, in his neck of the woods,
Up on
and
Chattooga and
we were
Notley and all that.
We were actually doing fair on it. My partner, he got honed in on that. I think I was throwing green pumpkin and blue because I was on a blue crawl kick there for a while.
Right.
With the blue crawl rage tail.
Yeah,
It's just, I love that.
It looks good.
It's a killer. That's a Lanier killer too.
One-
Anything with blue over there.
yeah. One of the things that when we did a podcast with Shannon Gorman a long time ago, and he was talking about crayfish, is you have to kind of understand the life cycle of a crayfish through the year. So in the wintertime when the water gets below 50 and all that, the mature crayfish, and then we're talking mature adults. Let me talk to Bardet right there. Green pumpkin, amber red, Picasso, of course. There you go, buddy. I know.
That's a
I
good
got
jig.
you.
Yeah. Bardet will spank your hiney with that jig too.
That's right.
He
That's
will.
right. I'm still telling him he needs to throw a true critter. We should have put one in his hands today while he was here. But the crayfish berry, the mature crayfish berry. So in the wintertime, if you're catching a fish, they come out in the spring when the water temperature gets 55 or whatever, and that's when you get that orange color because they've been into the bank. They bury into the bank. So when the mature ones come out, they've got that orange color to it, and that's when but they're the big ones. Now
Alabama crawl, rage tail.
yeah,
That time of year.
And a
It's
juvenile-
everybody's.
and a juvenile
Give it to me.
crayfish.
So good.
Yeah, juvenile crayfish, they do not bury. they actually stay up under the rocks and stuff, and they hide, and they will retain the greenish colors and stuff like that year round. So pay attention if you're catching fish, what they're spitting up.
Green, orange, blue, and purple.
Green, orange, blue, and purple. I don't even know what that is. I mean, what, you know. Why are you whispering, first of all?
I'm just dropping nuggets.
You're dropping nuggets? I'm trying to drop a nugget. It's the only damn thing I know.
Do you agree or disagree with that? Yeah.
One of y'all make sure Beasley's alive.
Beasley, are you
my
all right?
God.
Yeah.
Listen,
He was
Beasley's
fine.
like that thing you put in your passenger seat so you can drive down the HOV lanes.
Was that
We just needed somebody. So when
Was that
somebody
a-
moves on, we got a full.
Corey
full
Harmon? Corey Harmon, was that an old Roy, or was that what?
Old Roy.
Was that an old Roy?
Black and blue dog biscuit. Let me ask you something though. Why? Now, when I grew up, you threw a pig and jig, you know, because you had that old Uncle Josh pork kind of trailer thing like that. Why'd they quit making them things?
I don't know, but I know a lot of people that were, you know, those old school guys on
Yeah.
tuna. They were buying them up, and that's all they would get, you know, and all they would use certain times. They'll put them on their spinner baits,
Go to Temple.
you know,
Right.
and on anything. But I'm not crazy about them.
Gotcha. So what's how and when do you decide to bounce or drag the jig? Either
Pretty
one of you.
much, you know how it is. You got to let the fish tell you. But
But what?
summertime, I feel like they're on the move, and I feel like, have you ever seen fish swim on that screen? That will also ruin you once you start staring at it. Like, you won't even. Contours are a thing, but once you get on that screen, it just changes your whole perspective. Those fish are fast, very fast. And sometimes it takes hard snaps to make them fire. Like, you can literally feel them biting it, and then you try to set the hook and they're not there. And a lot of the times you can tell yourself those are your 6 to 10 inch fish that aren't getting it, or they're too small. And then there's sometimes to where you just got to make them fire. And whenever you do snap it right, it's 4-pounder, you know.
Right. I got that. So, Kurt Wehunt, this is a good question. Do you like a longer soft brush guard or a stiffer trimmed to the hook point brush guard? And I know one of the reasons that, you know, Ryan says, we don't cut our guards. We let the angler do it themselves. So in what instance?
A lot of people
What do you do?
disagree with it, but a lot of people will come in there and they will snip that thing. They will just take it straight off, you know, the normal trim. And I'm not a guy big on videos and stuff. I used to watch them a lot, but I've also learned that videos they'll help you, but they'll hinder you. The best thing you can do is get your honey in the water and get some baits in your hand and go learn the lake. And just keep pushing and keep literally grinding if you want to learn a place.
Now,
And break it down like it's a pond.
Right.
And I've never even really been a big pond fishing guy. Like, when I was younger, I did a little bit, but ever since I've gotten, you know, older, I enjoy the big lakes.
Right.
But I feel like if you come back here and just take the strand off, like the whole strand, 1 or 2 of them, instead of trimming it down here, you're going to save more jigs and you're going to come through brush a little bit better, and the fish can get it. And that one's pretty much just right. The skirt's just a little bit flared, the guard is a little bit flared, but normally you want that thing laid straight on the hook. A lot of people like it up. They want that gap there. I don't want that gap there, and I don't know why. I think because, of course, you know, you're on the move. You got the trolling motor on 10. You're trying to catch them. You're throwing a 1/2 ounce. Your jig's not always going to be running as true as you want it to, unless you literally position yourself and hone your mind into, I have to turn my entire body. I have to change my cadence, everything, to get my jig to run straight, and you'll get more bites. And
I don't personally change it. I don't personally do.
well, I'm just saying, if your jig, say whenever you're kind of fishing a little bit too fast and your jig comes in sideways, if they're trimmed off like that, you're more honed to catch you and
that
stuff.
thing's gonna roll and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
So what do you think about the people that come in and they trim like the V in the back? I mean, there's a lot of different ways people trim it. You just say, hey, just remove a couple of the strands, but leave the length.
Of course, the only way I really trim mine is, like I said, I'll take a couple of them off every now and then, or I'll come down here, say, of course, you thread your bait up on there and those strands are touching your feet. You don't want that.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when it's in the water, it's holding your,
But do
the
you
action's completely gone.
Do you like, though, a softer one compared, or does it matter? You'll do the same thing?
Like, when it comes to the material, I like the texture. I feel like whenever they grab a hold of it, it's a totally different bite. And I'm not certain times a year, whenever they're like, I heard Farmer talking about it one time, and I agreed with him a lot. It was they get weight sensitive, and I feel like whenever they grab that thing and say it's got some texture to it, it's just a little bit more confidence to them to go ahead and eat it.
Right.
You know?
There are basically three basic heads that everybody's got a variation of. The Arky style head, then you've got your brush style with the recessed line tie, and then you got your football styles. Jeremiah wanted to know, are you strictly an Arky head, or do you ever throw a football or any of the other style heads?
I like a football jig at Gunnersville, big time, and at Lanier every now and then I'll get that deep, but I'll throw my Arky down to 25 and 30. But at Lanier, there are those times, you know, to where you want to change it up or change the fall.
Right.
Literally, that's what you're after, the fall. Or the ticking on the rocks. There's just a little bit more sticking out on that football head. Say you're cruising, you get that one little tick, you know, that changes. But at Gunnersville, in the grass, it's a totally different ball game.
Right.
My partner introduced me to that, and I had always saw it. I just could never make it happen. I was a chatterbait guy, you know.
Right.
And topwater over there. But he got the football jig in my hand, and I learned how good it would do in 15 and 16, up to 22 foot of water, and there being 8 foot of grass down there. Juice.
Bard Day. He's on the dickle already again. The titanium weed guards work very well, no adjustment.
Yeah. I've threw the Picasso. Whenever I get the little, you know, whenever you come in like 8th place and stuff like that, you get the Picasso bags, and I've tried them out. I've thrown them, and I like them. They end up in rocks or brush pile, like every other jig.
Yeah, that's got that.
Yeah.
What type of jig is your go-to jig? And pretty much, so y'all tie most of your own, right? I mean,
I've been a suck. I used to buy a bunch of them, but
Right.
he's made them for me, and I buy them from him. You know,
What size hook do
And-
you like in your jigs?
4 and 5 all.
So you're a 4 and 5 alt guy
Yeah.
like that.
And every now and then, you know, there's certain times there's little. Every now and then we'll use a 3 aught hook, but I've got tired of losing them.
Right.
I
So
got tired of losing them, and I just go with it. Whenever I would rather bring them to the boat.
Right.
If I'm going to lose them, I want to lose them out there at 80 and 90 foot.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to be losing them, because you get any closer to some of those fish nowadays, they know you're there.
That's true. That's
Mhm.
true. That's very true. And that's something you say a lot when we're upstairs talking. A lot of, you know, with all the electronics and the trolling motors, those fish know you're there.
Yep.
They can feel it. They can do that. So, yeah, so making a long cast like that. How and where do you throw a jig at on Lanier? Now, I mean, there's many different places.
Yeah.
you
Dirt
can do
shallow.
Everywhere.
Just depends
to
on what
30
you're going.
foot,
Yeah.
really.
Mhm.
Anywhere from dirt shallow to 30 foot, and it gets a little deeper than that, and I don't fish
Yeah.
it much. I'll be sitting over top of it then, you know, just like dead cold of winter, you know.
Right.
There's been a couple of winters we've had, but this mild weather right now, I'm having to be 20 foot, 25 every
Yeah.
now and then.
For
but
those
and
of you
shallow.
that fish Blue Ridge, we had Chris Gayton in here, and he was talking about they fished a tournament up there this past weekend, and his jig bite up there, the deepest one he caught was 45 feet.
Yeah.
The shallowest one he caught was roughly, I think he said 35, 34 feet like that. So at least on Blue Ridge, now he used the electronics to find them,
Yeah.
but those fish were stuck to the bottom like that. And I would
Mhm.
think that even on Lanier right now, I mean, you probably can get them under, I mean, you probably can go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you're going to have your
ditches-
shallow fish. You're going to have your deep fish. I guess it just depends on what you're.
You can, if you want confidence on a jig on Lanier right now, they're stacked in the ditches. I mean, they're not big, but
Just
They're
to
in
get
there.
that bite and
They're
get
in the
used to
bottom,
it
yeah.
like that. So,
big old half-ounce football jig, just drag it through all the junk in the bottom of the ditch right now. You'll get bites.
yeah. But the quality fish haven't moved in there yet.
Yeah, I want to say they're getting there.
They're getting there like that. So, you've said several times fall rate. I know a lot of guys use, you know, you can change your line. You can do this. You can use a bigger trailer. First of all, how do you control your fall rate, and what is it that will make you change the fall rate?
Say with 20-pound test, I've thrown it out there, and you know how you'll stand there and you'll be ready, and you've got your pole up. I cannot stress how much slack matters, or literally your rod tip down. You can watch the screen. I can hold my rod tip up, and in certain times, your jig will just sit out there and suspend forever, and it literally just eases down. And say at that time, that's no good. You want bottom contact. That's when you're getting bit.
Right.
You tick through the bottom and you come through that stuff and you feel like you're hung up. If you can pop it out of there or get over it, learn where you're at and get over it, you're going to get bit most of the time. Instead of snatching it out of there really hard, just try to ease it over it. Try to learn it and just pop, 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 and swim it through there. Because
Right.
sometimes that's what it takes to not just end up stuck.
Right.
Yep.
So you use your rod more than you would use like a trailer. Do you ever switch trailers to a bigger size to help it? So you're not one of those that uses a
Wintertime,
trailer.
I like the rage crawl. But summertime, late spring all the way until past fall, I'm a creepy crawler, slim, profile. That's just how I've got confidence in it. But I'm not against the rage crawl, or there's all kind of different crawls out there that I feel like would work.
So Brian, ours was shallow, less than 12 feet. So yeah, there's fish up and down on every lake. I think he uses electronics to find and target those bigger fish that were down on the bottom. And so he went down there and got them. And knowing Chris, he generally throws 3/8. He throws 3/8, and then he'll let, he is one that lets the size, and Ryan has talked about this with me up at the shop. Like, Ryan, sometimes you say you can use the size, increase it to a 5 to slow it down a little bit, stuff like that. Instead of going, a lot of guys make the mistake of going with too small of a trailer, and it gets down too quick.
I don't really change though.
Well, you use a big one anyway.
I strictly throw 5. I strictly throw 5-inch. If I'm gonna throw a creepy crawler type tail, like a double tail grub, I pretty much only throw 5-inch. But that's just me.
What about you? So, I mean, what size are the ones you use?
The grubs,
Yeah.
they're just a Zoom creepy crawlers.
Yeah,
and
they're
I want
called
to say
Zoom creepy
they might be
crawlers.
3 inches.
Might be
They're
3
about
inches. So
3
you like
inches.
smaller?
They may
okay.
be 3
But
and
see,
a
the
half.
deal with
I could
them
be
is they have a
wrong.
lot thinner legs than like
So their
your
legs
Yamamoto.
extend
Yeah.
big time.
They have their
And
legs.
say at a certain time, if you're dipping them,
Yeah.
which I have a strong belief in also, those
Mhm.
big girls, they like that chartreuse.
They like that chartreuse.
Now, you have an interesting theory. Now, I've heard you say this in the store several times, and I always remember every time I hear somebody say chartreuse, you're the first person that pops in my mind.
I'm not saying just all chartreuse.
No, but you have an interesting theory as to why.
Yeah,
Tell
I just-
everybody what
I
your
don't
theory is.
know.
I think it's interesting. The color chartreuse and what it does
With
to a
jigs,
fish.
I'm not saying we've proved it, but they'll eat anything, of course, you throw it at them. But just say time after time after time, somebody that's throwing it dipped and somebody's throwing it's not dipped. Or say your A-rig, say you're dipping your A-rig and you're not dipping your A-rig. That can literally change your entire day.
Right.
And it would blow my mind. I would be throwing mine not dipped all day long, and he's just up there waxing me on the front deck, and I'm just like back there scratching my head, And finally I would get the jug out, or whatever, blow your mind.
What do you think? You told me what.
Sometimes I feel like it's a thing to where they think there's a certain time of year to where it's prettier than they are. It's more fancy than they are. It's the alpha there.
Right.
And they hate that. It's glowing, and it's different. Like, a lot of people say they want to stand out. Like, of course you want to match the hatch most of the time. Like, that's just what you have confidence in doing. But once you've learned a lake, you can put something in your hand that that they can see, that they can hear it coming, and you can sometimes get the W, because I feel like if you're not fishing to win, how do you win?
Well, that's right. So you think they just hit it because almost like they feel threatened by it sometimes because it's just that glow. It's pretty. It's a fish. It shouldn't be here. This is my area. I'm just going to eat it for the hell of it.
Last year, my
Ain't got
partner
no
on
hands.
Blue
They're
Ridge,
territorial, yeah.
on
Ain't got
Blue
no
Ridge,
hands.
Oh, yeah,
he
they might
threw a
just wanna see what
jig in
that
the
is.
ditch, and in that, it was a shallow ditch. I call it a ditch, but we got to the back of a flat, and there was a creek ditch there. And he threw a jig back in there 3 different times, and I was fishing a totally different ditch swing as he's up front. And I threw the chartreuse. It was actually a dark sleeper, and I don't throw them a lot, but they're good for a certain time of year.
Right.
And it was all chartreuse, and I threw it in there, and 7.5 pound largemouth ate it, and he had drug over that same log like 3 times with a jig. And that blew my mind, because
Right.
I figured that fish would have ate the jig, But as soon as I threw that in there behind him, like, he turned the boat, and we went to go get out of there, and I just wanted to come through that ditch a couple of times. And boom, there he was. And it happened a lot of times with him catching 13 and 14-inch fish,
Right.
and I'm catching 18 and 22-inch fish on a chartreuse.
Stephen Barday, this is a pretty good comment. Chartreuse, one tail, out of the 5 on an A-rig and see what happens.
That's definitely 100% agree with Barday, and I guarantee you that man knows all the tricks up the sleeves.
Did Paul
because
just sneeze?
When you put the time in the water like that,
Right.
and you can learn stuff like that. But we would literally go out there and we would devote all day to, just like he's talking about. I would dip the middle.
Oh, yeah, listen. Okay, so I'm sorry. So I've already fallen for that guy one time. You're not going to get me there this time. Hey, listen, no lie. Was you on here when I was trying to figure out what the hell that was?
That was so funny.
That was Haywood Jabala. I couldn't pronounce it. So
Read that bottom name.
Dane Hunter.
No.
You like how I did that,
The
didn't you?
one above that.
Haywood.
yeah, stay away from Haywood.
Yeah.
Right there. Here's another thing too that I know a fellow that throws a Navy rig a lot. He doesn't necessarily dip it, but he will throw 3 of one kind and 2 different colors, and then he will let the fish dictate which colors they're hitting that day.
Yeah.
And so he'll throw white, and he'll actually sneak in a couple of green pumpkins in there or something different. And if they're targeting that green pumpkin that day, he lets the fish tell him what to hit. But I can see where dipping that one will help him zone in and target on that one right there. So that's actually kind of interesting.
It fires them up and it triggers them. But I've also seen, like, say, partner be throwing the Kitex, and they're the solid white ones. You've
Right.
got those on the back of your rig, and you're going, and we come to a bridge, a rip-rap point, and he's throwing the rig, and I watch him throw up there a couple of times. Well, we were calling these the discos because they're the green hologram.
right.
You know, they're the
Yes.
Kitex, but they, you know, and I was like, I got those discos tied on. It'll want this one, and I threw it over there and caught like a 6-pounder, and that was at West Point, and that was a good time. But we struggled down there, and everybody struggled in the tournament. But I caught that fish probably 30 minutes before, and you would have thought I won the Bassmaster Classic because it was a grind that day.
Right. I got you right there. Dane Hunter, well, I got you on there too. Dane wanted me to do a little, this is a good time to do this. The ABA 125, they're fishing the American Bass Anglers American Fishing Tour National Championship today. Today was day 2. Tomorrow is will be the final day. But they do have a lot of guys that are fishing, local guys that are fishing in that. And I'm just going to name out a couple of them. Number 2, Roger Fisher. He's currently in 2nd place, and he's only 1.16 pounds behind the leader. 38th place is Camden Howell. 53rd is Nick Tunney. There's about 10 other of his anglers that are participating in that. So tomorrow we want to wish them guys the best. If you don't know about the ABA 125 or actually the ABA 35, they fish a lot of the local lakes, Allatoona and Lanier, and the 35 stays pretty much up towards Notley and all that.
I like Tunney. I hope he finds them. Anytime he goes fishing, he's a grinder and he puts in his time.
Yeah, so
Tunney, he's earned it, and he's willing to put his time, and he smiles. He can catch them or he can not catch them, and let me tell you what, when you're standing there, he's going to be smiling.
and that's a good way to be.
And you catch him, he's happy for you, and that's the type of guy I want to be.
Well, see, that's pretty cool right there. So definitely want to wish those guys the best tomorrow, and maybe Nick can move up into places in Camden, and Roger Fisher can actually seal the win right there. So that's pretty cool. So it's also time for the question of the week. All right, so we'll get back to the questions. I don't know what 3-2 means. I hope it's not. I guess. Oh, blue. That's no good. But it happens. A lot of time left. We're going to do the question of the week here. We're about an hour in. And so real simple question. The winner of this, we're going to give a couple of True Grip bladed jigs for the winner of this. And so real simple question. All right. First one that Paul's going to declare the winner right there. So you guys get ready. Freddie Freeman. Okay, Freddie Freeman. Since the Braves are playing tonight, what is the name? Give me the name of any one of his 3 children. He's got 3 children, and so there's 3. I can't really do that because you don't know them. I'll look and see that. So the first one to name any of Freddie Freeman's kids, it pops up. I'll just have to look at it. And the first one I see in the comment section, name the first name of one of any of Freddie Freeman's 3 kids, and you will get a couple of True Grip bladed jigs. So. Charlie, Stephen Barday, Jacob Fleming, Charlie, Freddie. So Who do we give it to Jacob or do we give it to Barday? I'm gonna give a couple to each one of you guys right there. So Charlie is one of them. The actual names are Maximus Turner Freeman, Brandon John Freeman, and Frederick Charles Freeman II. So Barday and all that. So you guys, we appreciate everyone. Maximus. So I think that's a pretty cool name, is Maximus. So I don't know if that's his oldest one or not. So you guys get your bathroom break out of the way and all that. You good now? Huh?
We're good.
Get you a drink. Get
We're
you
good.
good. Everybody's hydrating. Stay hydrated and all that. Currently, the Dodgers are winning 3-2.
I'm hydrated. Shout out. I seen Kurt Brown in the comments up there a minute ago.
Okay. And
Hydrated.
if you're on Facebook and you're watching and you're new to the show, if you'll go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and put in your name, it'll come up in there, and you won't be as Facebook user. We'll be able to use your actual real name right there and get to recognize you. And if you want to stay hidden, that's fine. I know a lot of you guys don't want people to know that you're watching, and that's okay if you want to be incognito. We understand. We understand. So a lot of guys are watching, and they don't want people to know they're watching, kind of like those getting Jimbo's fishing reports. They don't want to let people know they really get them. But I know a lot of you do. I know some of you. So anyway, how about swim jigs? Swim jigs is a pretty hot thing.
Yeah,
Swim
I
jigs
like
are
swim
awesome.
jig at Gunner in the grass. I do.
Yeah.
I'll swim a arky around here, but
Do you ever just use a true swim jig though, or do you just say I got an arky, I can swim it no matter what?
literally Chickamauga and Gunnersville is the only time,
Really?
and Grass Lakes, that I have a swim jig on, unless it's springtime and I'm flying with some crazy color like that.
Yeah.
Right?
And but most of the time around here, any of these highland reservoirs, I'll swim an arky jig if that's how it'll make it fire. But Lanier is probably one of the only lakes that I pull the football out on. And
Okay.
it's probably only one of the ones, and I don't know what it is. Those fish are just so dialed in. And I'm not saying they won't eat it everywhere. They'll eat it at Alatoona too.
We got a
Barday will tell you that the
the
smaller
sirens are going off?
football head.
There's a tornado warning right where you are.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, listen.
Mhm.
I just want to
We lose y'all.
let me just put the camera on me. I just want to say this. If we die tonight, we love you. All right?
Holy shit!
If the tornado, the sirens are going off here, if
I got chainsaws. We'll cut our
we'll
way
cut
out.
our
We're
way out,
getting
that's
of here.
right. So
We're getting out of here, son.
this building is
That's a cyclone, dude, right there.
this building has been here since 1945, and so I think it's probably seen its fair share of storms. So I feel pretty comfortable here. But if we lose you, we love you, and if you lose us, we love you. We thank you for tuning in. Here's a question: do you change your rod size depending on where and what you're fishing?
I like Jacob. He's good people. I
He is
do.
good.
Around here, I keep it just medium heavy, but of course in the Tennessee River, I normally have a heavy rod in my hand. It's probably going to be a 7.4. I've got another rod that's a 7.7 that I like to throw, and it's actually a Duckett micro eyes, and I'll throw a jig on it sometimes, but most of the time it's going to be a heavy rod in the grass and a medium heavy in these reservoirs around here and in the trees.
Gotcha. Okay.
That medium heavy's good.
Yeah.
I'd say that medium heavy for everything except for big football jigs for me.
Gotcha.
Big football jigs, I'll go to the 7.6 heavy NRX.
Yeah.
Other than that, just medium heavy for everything.
I got you. Okay.
If you're offshore, 7.6 medium heavy, and when I'm up close doing everything, I'll use the 6.9 medium heavy X Pride because that's really accurate. It's a pretty stiff rod, but it keeps them pinned pretty well.
Right.
Like if I'm skipping docks and stuff, such a good rod because it's so nimble. You can get it anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere. I mean, when you're close combat, all that docks, flipping, all that, it's good.
There you go. Do you
It'll
skip
pin 'em.
docks a lot?
Yeah, I've got a skipping rod. Actually, Steve, he give it to me, and that new Lew's skipping reel, and that new Dowell's got a skipping reel, and he's a sucker for the new reels. So he's pretty much my test guinea on everything.
That door makes so much noise.
Yeah, he does. But he'll buy the reels and try them out, and say he don't like it, he'll send them back. But he's such an old timer. He's good people though, like down to heart.
Right.
He's a little bit different, but when it comes to his reels, he's serious in his rods. So he'll test it out to begin with, and he'll ask me how I like it. And those skipping reels, they're a game changer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What was he going to say about small football? Small football. So, I mean, what's your opinion on small football? Jim?
I was just going to say that. I mean, just because of the Picasso ones
they're so good on Lanier.
And they're really, really good.
They're
the ones with the little
really good on
triple
Lanier.
weed guard, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
what
that's
kind
the Picasso football one.
Yeah,
that's
it's
good
a
one.
killer jig.
That's
and
titanium.
I liked them a lot. Before Joey actually started making all my jigs, that's the one I would throw. But
Gotcha.
That's
and
what
I'll
I
still
think.
throw them. If I've got them, or say if I'm in a store and I see them, a couple that I like, I always
Mm-hmm.
snag them. Say I get in those certain reservoirs that are really clear, I'll definitely tie those things on because they work.
Yeah, I have about 30 of those.
Yeah,
They
you
were
go,
really
okay.
wintertime on Lanier. Now, I haven't tried your guys' football jigs yet. So.
That's okay. I just listen. I mean, I'm not opposed to people using good stuff that works. So I
Yeah.
mean, I understand that. Do you use a white or bait fish swim jig on a shad spawn or a herring spawn bite? I've hit them hard around the marinas
Yeah.
and docks during a herring spawn. So you got a shad spawn going on. You throwing? I mean, do you change up? But because you said basically you throw a swim jig only on Gunnersville and stuff like that. So you got an Arky pretty much in your hand. But do you change your pattern if you see that happening?
Yeah, but like, it just depends where I'm at. If there's a shad spawn going on, I'm probably gonna have a spinnerbait in my hand. And I'm not saying I'm just like a diehard spinnerbait guy, but there's a certain time of year that mini me and that Georgia blade, they work.
Right.
At all, But there's also a time of year to where they don't work.
Right.
And the swim jig can be a player. Just say it's a weight ratio deal, and it's coming through the cover, or that noise,
Right.
or nose down, or sometimes they're looking up. But people can say, "Oh, you pop the live well and look, see if they're looking up or looking down." You'll never sneak up on those fish, but you can just tell by how the fish are reacting.
Okay.
Even if you don't have live, your contours, they can tell you that. You can know how deep you are and how you just got bit.
Right.
And you can know.
What's the biggest mistake you think the average angler makes when he puts a jig in his hand?
Well, one thing I'll say is you need to be able to cast far on these lakes around here. I'm not saying that you can't get up on top of a fish and catch it. Yes, you can. Do I have confidence doing that? Very little. Like, I feel like I need to be away from that fish, And there's a certain time of year, getting below the 50s, it's like they're dumb. Their dumb just goes
Way
on.
up.
It's a light switch. And they're dumb, so it doesn't matter,
Right. But in the warmer times, it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
Do you take the skirts on your trailer? I mean, on your jig. Do you do any trimming? Like, I know a lot of guys. I've known some guys that will trim it actually to a third of the hook. With the actual back of the hook. Do you shorten it or you just leave it? Any modifications you make on that?
If I'm going to shorten it that much, I'm just going to go to a swim bait with a little guppy head or something, a little swim bait head. And, or Joey, he makes these little bitty swim bait heads, and I'll just go to that. But when it comes to a swim jig, I'm moving it so fast and I'm coming through the grass so fast that I don't feel like that much would matter.
Okay.
Now, when it means the action to the tails, and say you're falling in those holes and those grass patches, but 90% of the time I'm getting bit, I run into a grass patch and you're snapping it out of it, and then
Right. They hammer on
they
it.
truck it.
With a swim jig, because I tie my own stuff too. Normally, I don't pour my own heads and stuff, but I'll tie my jigs on. I'll use a lot of skirt material, so I'll use like 2.5 tabs. I mean, a lot. And then I'll cut it pretty short when I'm skipping it. Because, I mean, when you're skipping it under and swimming it, that shorter skirt kind of stays a little wider. It doesn't fall down next to it as much. It just gives a little bit more profile, especially I think it looks a little bit more like a bluegill. And I'll throw that with a swim bait trailer. And that's been pretty good.
How about young boy right here coming out of his shell a little bit?
Look at him. I was about to say, he just
Copycat.
hopped up out of nowhere. We got
He
him
does
fired
it. Hey,
up.
listen, that's what I
That
tell
Mountain
him.
Dew's got him rolling.
Is that guy, yeah.
You should have seen him last week. It was funny.
Does your mom know you're here though?
I
Yep.
already asked him. He
You
said-
already asked. You made sure he texted his mom. All right. Yeah.
He was like, I went upstairs and he was like, yeah, like I like the football. I was like, does your mom know you're here? I didn't even answer.
Well, you don't-
I was like, does your
for-
mom know you're here?
For those of you guys in the comments that are around these big thunderstorms and the weather like that, so you guys stay safe and make sure you pay attention to what's going on. But I've had several comments in there about hearing the sirens
You can hear me.
Yep.
and stuff like that.
You
So
can hear me here.
I did not know that kind of weather was coming in tonight.
Didn't know either.
I
It
didn't
feels
either.
weird outside right now.
Ryan, the report here is it feels weird, and weird equals bad sometimes like that. So, what
we
do you
do weather reports.
We do weather reports too, absolutely like that. So Neil Scoggins, how you doing, Neil?
Fluorocarbon, Neil. For me, I'm only braid unless at Gunnersville and Chickamauga, Grass Lakes, but I'm throwing fluoro.
And
Fluorocarbon.
everybody, okay, fluoro. All right, so like that. So nothing here. It's about 3 miles from you. So there we go. We're getting close. So we might hopefully the TDS Telecom.
What?
Hopefully the
What's the
TDS
Wi-Fi password?
Yeah, I mean, nobody got it.
the Wi-Fi password.
Yeah.
Is what? Fish.
It is Hollis Q
Oh, yes,
Latham.
Hollis Q Latham.
All cap, all lowercase like that. Do you vary your cadence when swimming your jig? I try more of a swim and shake.
Yeah, that work.
No.
Like literally, sometimes you swim it, sometimes you hop it, and like just like that little shake he's talking about. Like sometimes that's what makes him fire.
Yeah,
It really is. Like and that may be a confidence thing, but it's happened too many times that I feel like it matters.
Right.
You know, that small little pop and that rod that I use, it's so worn in and used. I feel like it's just so limber. That matters when you're coming through cover too. If you have a little bit stiffer rod, and I feel like you're gonna get hung a little bit more.
so
know,
you
you
think
need-
the rod helps you not get hung so much?
And I'm not saying a stiffer rod can't help you come to it if you learn how to use that stiffer rod. But trying to cover ground, it helps me whenever I pull up on it just to check. Because sometimes, like, you're trying to be very gentle. You don't want to spook them or anything whenever you're pulling up on them. Is that a limb or is that him?
Right.
You know, before he gives you that snatch back and you want to be ready.
Talk about this because I've heard you say this. Talk about becoming the jig.
You got to be the
Oh, my
crawfish.
You got to listen. This
gotta
is
be the
very
crawfish.
interesting
I
right here.
am the crawfish.
Yes, you have to tell yourself you're that crawfish, and that's the way you need to be working it. You need to think in your mind that you're a crawfish.
Are y'all using the weather app? Forewarn me. Try it. No, we're
Brett
not.
Jones is a hammer,
Oh,
and he knows all about dragging, and he's power.
and he's probably he drags it.
Yeah, he's
Oh, I
a
love
dragger.
He's a
dragging the
dragger.
jig's awesome.
He's a dragger, and he's ready.
And he's ready.
Yep.
But tell everybody because I get tickled when you get out there. You talk about, man, you got to be the jig. You got to
Yeah,
become
you
the
just
jig.
you
know,
do.
so-
If you want to have confidence in it, I've heard a bunch of people say I can't catch fish on it. I just don't have confidence in it. When I first started actually pursuing bass fishing, I crappie fish and done some pond fishing and caught some bass. But when I started pursuing it, I had a fella look at me and he told me, he was just like, I've caught more fish on this right here than I have in anything in my box. And this man had more tackle than I ever saw before.
right.
And he made me a believer. And I started pushing it, and started getting bit. And I would learn that the people I was fishing with and people I was fishing against, shake head, Texas rig, shake head, Texas rig.
Right.
I was catching 3 and 4 pounders. They're catching pound and a halfers. Jig bites the big bite, and that's just how I feel.
I have no idea. The ghost here at the store.
That's me playing.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's been several times we've been sitting down here, Josh and I, in the basement, and people walk. It sounds like people are walking upstairs,
Oh,
and we
my
think
God.
a customer's here, and we go up, and ain't nobody up here. We're like, this store's been here a long time.
It's that 10 pounder looking for them jigs.
10 pounder. That's true. That's true. It could
I
be-
ain't caught him yet, but he's up there.
What's the biggest fish you caught on a jig?
I think it was about to touch 8. I told myself it was 8. It was like 7-11.
Right.
And there was another
You can
time-
round up. That's good.
Yeah,
There's no
I was
problem
like,
rounding up.
man, and, but the Rapalas kept telling me 7-11. And I've caught a few high
Those
sixes
Rapalas.
at Notley.
But they weigh a little bit lower. That's what I've heard at least.
Blue Ridge, Notley, and Alatoona, I've all put like 7, 6, 5s in the boat numerous times.
Right.
But Gunnersville, there was a time we were down. We had 8 pounds the first day. It was a 2-day tournament with Cherokee County Bass Club. And the second day we come back and speaking of the spinning rod thing, he told me to leave my spinning rods at home. I brought one for a backup. Well, we had 8 pounds that first day with our bait casters. So That night, I'm spooling up everything. I changed the whole game. I was putting stuff. I didn't even know what I was doing. I ended up putting some 12-pound mono, and I didn't even fish any mono at the time. I put 12-pound mono on a spinning rod, and I tied a chatterbait on it. Like, I had so much stuff on a different. I didn't have an open rod for a black and blue chatterbait, but I wanted one. And we pulled up to one spot, and we caught 22 pounds. And we ended up coming in second. We went from like dead last to second in that tournament,
Right.
you know, and that made me a strong believer in the grass over
Now, a chatterbait is basically a bladed jig.
there.
So, what do you think? You say you have a lot of confidence in a chatterbait.
It was a Picasso Bardale like that. I just figured out.
Yeah, just get that for him
Yeah,
because
I
I mean,
knew that out
it makes
there.
him,
It was a
makes him
Picasso.
happy. It makes him.
It wasn't a
happy.
jackhammer Bardale. It was a Picasso.
And I'll get to Michael Temples. I'll get to your question here in a second. What is it about a chatterbait that you think is? Do you think it's better than a spinnerbait, or is it the time of year? Because a lot of guys have switched, either spinnerbait or the chatterbait. I know you
Notley.
use both.
I heard Farmer talking about Notley. It may have been last show or the show before, and he was talking about how much he loved chatterbait up there. Me and my partner, we went up there in Notley, and it was in November, and I want to say, and he threw the chatterbait all day. I think he caught one fish. I was throwing the spot sticker and spinnerbait, and I
Right.
was spanking them, you know. And when I say spanking them, we were just catching a lot of spotted bass, and we had like 14 pounds that day. We ended up winning because it was tough.
Right.
But a few times before that, the chatterbait was key there on Nolly. Like, absolutely, like 6-pounder. One time we blasted off, I lost my hat and my costas. And we get to the hole, and I literally went around, we'd fish, I called it my mountain up there. Murphy will tell you where it's at. He needs to throw that Murphy-name, by the way, on that jig, or on that mountain.
Okay. There you go.
And he knows all about it. But we were actually on the back side of the mountain. We went down the front side, or some other guys had beat us over there. And we went down the back side, and I caught like a 6'10" on a chatterbait, you know, and I was excited. I was pumped up. And then after that, we just kept throwing it, and we got wore out that day. But there's certain docks up there, and Farmer will attest to that, that you can just go by with a chatterbait, and they're just going to eat, or they're not going to eat.
Right. Now, do you ever fish a chatterbait? And a lot of people I've seen where they take a chatterbait and they fish it like a jig. They'll let it sink to the bottom, give it that pop up, and let it go back to the bottom. And they'll actually work it like they're popping a jig. You ever do anything like that?
Yeah, I change my cadence all the time, but I'm a sucker for the pull, you know, feel what you got, pop, 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 you know, and let it fall, depending on, if you're coming up a point. A lot of people, you've seen people get up shallow now and want to pull their jig, like say they're fishing from the bank, but out there on a hump. They end up getting up on the hump and position themselves up there so they can sit there and drag in that shade spot that the sun's creating, that those 4-pounders are hiding in. And whenever you can figure out like where that area is, I feel like you can get bit a lot more.
I got you. All right. So Michael Temple's question up there was, what type of skirt do you like on your jigs?
I wish I knew what type of skirt it was. I think it's from Fishing Skirts, but
So silicone.
yeah.
So you like the
Yeah.
silicone as opposed to like
The
different
PB&J
rubber
that
and
we
stuff?
throw, I want to say it's like he might come on here and stab me, but it don't matter. I'm the type of person, I tell you everything, I catch them and I don't care.
That's why I like you.
And but it's the barbed wire or
Right.
what is it? The peanut butter jelly barbed wire. And I like the texture on that
Dark
one.
pumpkin Dalmatian, or that's dark pumpkin.
And I feel like the
barbed wire
stripes
purple
on
blue.
that, it kind of helps out. I've seen a lot of crawfish and they look like it. I've also seen them be green and orange, you know, too.
Right.
I've been a sucker for that, but I kind of got away from it because you start hanging out and seeing a bunch of guys that's throwing straight green pumpkin or green pumpkin and orange.
How about this? Clearwater Lake versus stained. You show up on a Clearwater Lake right now.
How stained?
Okay.
Because there's a certain stain to me that's fish catching stained.
Okay, so let's do this. Clearwater, and then you go late the next day that is fish catching stain. You still throwing that PB&J, or you know,
Yeah.
or you automatically pull out the black and blue if it's got some stain on it?
I'll throw the PB&J, and depending on what they're keying on, I feel like instead of the black and blue, I'll go for the bright orange, like that Alabama crawl, which I know I throw it like, say, in the springtime, of course, late spring into there, and then they're kind of honed into it.
Right.
They've learned. But I feel like that orange, like if it's that fish catching color, it really gets them too.
So you would prefer to use that first before you pull out the black and blue and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but sometimes, I feel like the PB&J also is, just as good.
PB&J is a very confident
It's
color
just
with a lot of
dark.
guys.
It's
Yeah.
darker, and there's a couple different shades, of course,
Right.
But I have confidence in them all. But I feel like there's a certain time of year that they'll hone into certain ones, but it varies to me. I feel like if that fish is ready to eat, he's ready to eat. You caught him at the right time, and it landed in his face.
Gotcha. So Ryan, are you?
Are the Braves up? Is that what you're checking, or
No,
what?
I was looking at that skirt.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
yeah.
pulling up that skirt color.
Yeah, I was looking at that skirt.
They're sold out, if you're wondering.
Oh,
they've
yeah.
been on back order for a long time.
That
Yeah.
PB&J is a good deep water color.
I've got it coming from China though. I've got some more coming. Explain fishing a jig in the ditches during the winter.
Heavier,
Yeah.
unless you got big time patience, but I'm gonna be throwing a heavier one. It's gonna be half ounce at least,
Still an Arky. I know
I'll
a lot
throw a
of guys-
3/8, but like out there in the deeper stuff. But you just gotta have the patience, and
quarter.
Corner.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
you can throw.
You
a
got
quarter.
another
in
hat
the
on.
winter.
You can
In the
throw
winter
like-
How
time.
many,
Lights-
how many different hats are you taking?
I ain't taking that one.
Light
You
stuff.
ain't got it all bent for your big old head. There's two. You gonna add to this because you're over there going quarter.
Yeah, so when the water temperature for me, and this is Lanier is like the only lake that it's like this. So when the water temperature gets below like 44,
Mm-hmm.
like 44 to 39, which we haven't seen that in a while, particularly on the south end. If you take a 1/4 ounce jig and you throw it in like the front edge of the timber where the ditches start going into the creek, dude, that thing right there, it takes forever. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, you got a line watch.
Yeah.
And explain to somebody that doesn't understand what you mean.
So
by line
you
watching.
line up parallel. So like you've got your
Here
so
we
like-
go.
so like you've got your ditch.
Take notes.
You got your ditch going into the back of the creek. And here's your timber line right here, and then back out this way is the main lake. So your timber comes up, and it comes up here, and it makes an underwater point.
Uh-huh.
Makes an underwater point, kind of like that. And then you have it on Lanier. The timber is cut from 40 feet up.
37 and a half.
Oh my goodness! Young Buck has called out the master here.
I always thought it was 35.
No, I mean, yeah, but
Okay, keep
No, or yeah.
going.
it could get up in there.
Do you want to teach?
Them
I
contractors,
love that bite.
those contractors
I
were
love
told
that
40
bite,
foot.
too.
They probably just let that couple 3 or 4 foot
When
slide.
it-
Right. Okay,
when-
40
in the
feet.
winter,
A
when
general
it
rule of thumb is 40 feet deep.
Okay.
That's at full pull.
Full pull. All right.
So 37 and a half feet for Beasley in Beasley's world. So then you have all this coming up here going into the back of the creek. Way back up in here where Danny's face is.
That's
Okay.
right. I'm the top of the creek.
Danny's in the back. So the fish do their thing back here first thing in the morning, and they come up and down the sides out through here. So then they come back out, and the sun gets up high, and they retreat to the timber edge and the timber line right here. And you take a 1/4 ounce jig, and I start with 1/4, but you can get away with 3/8. 3/8 works too.
Right.
But 1/4 just seems to like get a lot better bites. This is the only time that I do not throw 15-pound test line on my jig. That's when I'm throwing 12. Any other time, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you can see 6 feet down. I don't care if you can see 6 inches down. It's 15. That's what I throw because I don't play around when I jig fish. So you got your timber line right here, and basically the fish will position themselves in that timber where if you throw in towards that timber and you let it try and like you're essentially what you're trying to do is get it down here to the bottom to where that front of that timber is. You have to what you have to do is you have to line watch because sometimes they'll come out of that timber and they'll grab that thing as it's going down, because this jig is literally falling this slow
Because it's a quarter.
because it's so slow, and they'll see it and they'll just come in there and just grab it.
Yep.
And I'm about to promise you, those fish that do that, when you get bit like that, you want to know how some of these guys are catching fish like in the wintertime like that? A lot of times that's what they're doing.
It's on lighter line,
It's
12
on-
too.
A lot of guys throw a lot lighter line.
Yeah,
than
I've seen
12.
them on 8 and,
Yeah.
and
But
10.
you like
Guys will
12.
throw 8, but
And
I-
I've done it. I've
10
done
pound
it.
is 10 pound is my sweet
When I
spot.
first
throw
started.
12, but that's just because I don't like to play around. No, I don't. I won't get as many bites as somebody throwing 10 or 8.
Yeah, 10 is good.
But you've lost too many 4s at the boat
I've
with
lost
the
too
smaller
many
line.
4s on smaller line with that smaller hook and that smaller jig. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if you want to figure out how to jig fish like that in the wintertime in the ditches, and everyone always hears about ditch fishing with jigs. That is essentially the foundation of jig fishing on Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
Is that timber with
Yeah.
a jig right there in front of that where that timber line starts, throwing in the start of the ditches.
Once you first get over, like once you first get into that timber and you feel yourself dragging up over it,
Yes.
you'll drag it up over that limb and
Yeah.
then it'll pop over the limb and drop back down.
Now, I'm not sitting over here in 60 feet throwing into the timber.
I throw just past the
You
timber.
want to throw just past the timber, and because the fish, those fish that want to eat, if you see fish out here in 60, 70 feet of water in the timber, and you're like, oh my God, there's fish down there, holy crap. I can about promise you 99% of the time it's striper. That's right there.
Oh, sorry,
They're
you're
striper.
good,
Eh.
Your spots,
Sometimes they'll be spots.
Sometimes it'll be gar.
sometimes,
Oh, God,
sometimes
not the
they'll
gar.
be gar. Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes they'll be
gosh.
gar too. I'm not saying there's not spots
There's
over there.
spots there, but
But the fish, the spots that want to eat that you can actually trigger to bite will be up here in this front like 10-foot zone where that timber
Yeah.
line starts.
I like that you said
And
that.
they hide in the sun. They hide from the sun, and the bait is basically above them.
Weedless
herring-
A-rig.
Huh?
Same time you're throwing that quarter-ounce jig, a weedless A-rig.
A weed, yeah. I've seen guys. I know a couple guys who throw the weedless A rigs and stuff like that. They basically all it is an A rig, and you've got the swim bait heads on there that have the little wire forms that you
Right.
hook around the hook, and it makes them weedless. But those fish, they're like this big.
Big ones.
They're like this big.
They're the ones you want in a
They're
tournament.
they're like your three. They're like your 3.5 pluses, and your 4-pounders, and sometimes even 5-pounders. And a lot of times the guys who are winning those tournaments in like December, late December, January,
Right.
they have found ditches that they catch a limit first thing in the morning, like on fish heads. and
While they're
Titanics,
up. While they're up. Right.
and then they come out there and they spend the rest of their day running running a handful of ditches that they know that those fish are that are in the timber line, right there, and they throw jigs.
And they'll stack up right
And
there.
they'll stack up right there. And if you find one and you can get them to feed, I know LJ talked about it too. The other thing you can do with that is, and I know it's kind of a little off topic, but that's when your Demiki rig and stuff also starts coming into play.
yeah.
Is like is that stuff where you're throwing that Demiki, that little
That's a fun
3/8
bite.
ounce Demiki rig down there.
Right.
That's where all that stuff. But this, as opposed to a Demiki rig with childish 6-pound test line,
Childish.
you know,
Man.
it's
That
and
Demiki rig
I
bites
mean that
fun.
I mean that as a joke. Don't take that personally. Don't take that personal, guys. But this, when they bite it, I have the utmost more confidence in this that I'm going to get those fish in the boat compared to anything else.
Right.
Because when they bite it, I don't play around with it. They don't stick it in their pocket. They don't hold on to it and be like, they ain't got no hands. When you feel them bite it, they have it. That fish has made a commitment, and he is biting this jig, and he is biting this jig to eat it. And I don't care who you are. Let me go ahead and tell you right now. When they bite like that in 40-something feet, in about 40 feet of water, you cross their eyes. You better set the hook like you're crossing their eyes.
Yeah, that's when I go to my heavy instead of medium heavy.
You gonna cross their eyes.
If you're
There's
deeper,
none
of course,
this
you've got
half-
more
half
line
caught.
out. It's
Yeah.
deeper. You
Yeah.
need that more.
Braid
Yeah.
to fluoro, heavy rod.
No, I don't braid fluoro.
I braid to
I
fluoro.
don't play that crap.
Braid to
The
fluoro.
Mickey rig is a jig, says Michael Temples, and
I
I guess
mean, yeah.
technically it is like
Yeah.
that. So it is.
Not like that kind of.
Now he's talking. Now here's interesting. It talks about the different lakes and stuff like that. He's talking about how it is on Lanier. How about Allatoona? Do they have anything that fishes similar to that?
What do you mean, fishes?
As in, like where timber actually makes an underwater point up into a ditch, or is it more
I mean,
rock?
there's spots, but they're rare.
But you don't
Yeah.
fish it like that. So on Allatoona, as opposed to Lanier in the wintertime, what are you concentrating on?
Cover.
You're still just fishing brush, cover, whatever you can find.
It's cover most of the time.
Well, that's technically cover too. It's just deeper.
And you know how it is. There's so many tournaments and trails and stuff like that. The structure's there.
Right.
You just look for it, and you'll get burnt staring at the electronics. But you don't need those either. I'm not saying like when I fish with Joey, he don't even have live on his boat. We fish contour lines. We fish contours.
He's very big on saying, yeah, and that's one
Yeah.
thing Ryan says. A lot of people are so.
I'm a
they're
sucker
so
for it.
stuck.
I won't lie. It is like
I see it, Kurt Weehunt. I know Dodgers up 4-2 right now, but that's all right. A lot of time left. Like that. So
it's taught me a
contours.
lot though in my mind that say you were second guessing. No, they're there.
Yeah.
They're there.
That's
They're just
all.
not biting your cricket.
Okay, so let's say you're starting off with a jig. You're committed to fishing that jig all day because you're fishing for that final bite, that big one. But you're not getting the bite that you want. Okay, but you're not going to put the jig down. What are some subtle changes that you can make that might trigger that fish? And let's say you're not using any electronics.
Whenever I
What if
fish a tournament, sometimes I have 4 jigs tied on. You heard me say 3. Most of the time it's 3. Sometimes I'll have 4. There's
Okay.
one on 12-pound test. There's a smaller one, and it's more of a finesse style ball
Right.
head,
Mhm.
and kind of on a shaky head hook, but with a skirt on it.
Right.
It's the same deal without the screw lock. But I just feel like line size matters a lot whenever it comes, just because of your fall rate. If you're fishing that 15 plus.
Right.
Out there, but you get 15 or shallower, they're ready to eat. And they may be honed into 12 foot. I don't know what it's been, but the last couple of months, the last year, I feel like I've been fishing in 12 foot of water. Or that's where my fish have been coming from, 12 foot or shallower.
And staying pretty consistent with that.
And every now and then you'll get on those nights to where, you're catching them in 25 or in that area.
Right.
But 20, 18. But I heard y'all talking the other night. Y'all were talking about paralleling and pulling straight off of the bank. And me and my partner will butt heads sometimes because I'm wanting to be more parallel 45-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wanting to drag straight off, And I get up front. I can cover water,
So you like the 45 as opposed to in the
Mhm.
parallel,
Yeah.
because you can keep that bait in that zone that you
I want to be in the strike zone at all times if possible, just like anybody does. But like you have to push yourself to do that. You throw a jig out there, you don't realize how steep that drop off is, or how much cover you just missed by just doodling, or you don't even realize. You have to hone your mind in that. That's when you hear me talk about be the jig.
right.
I
Be
mean,
the jig. What's happening if I'm holding my pole up right now and I didn't lay any slack? Like my half of my line's not even touching the water. It's not going to be falling like you want it, of course. You want to push that button and pull up as much slack as you can, then let it lay down, then click your bell, and then wait till that thing hits the bottom,
Okay.
and then go to work.
And then go to work. So So you're just saying this year, it just seems to be 12 foot is a magical in that area. But
I'm not saying that's the only way they've come from, but 12 foot's done me right.
done you
I
right
feel like
this year.
that's where they've been.
Okay. And yeah.
And it was rare that you could pull up and have nights to where you would catch more than one there,
Uh huh.
but it was like hot spots,
Okay.
and it's crazy how it works, but it's just feeding times, and when they're firing, you got to be there.
What's up, Brock Turner? Glad to see you showing in
Brock's
tonight.
a hammer.
He is a hammer.
Yes, he is.
And a good dude. So, Michael Temples, has the live scope helped or hurt you fishing?
The first 4 months, I feel like it hurt me. I was staring at it, and I was like a little kid in a candy store. But after that, and some tournaments in the late winter last year, I got over there and I was watching them come. Like, I'm watching a wolf pack follow my A-rig back, and then there's, I did nothing but just here comes this gold out from up under the boat, and I'm still 30 foot out. And this thing comes out from up under the boat and runs out there and head first my A-rig. Y'all, I thought I was going to lose it. It was a 4.5 pounder monster.
Right.
And that burnt me for a while, and I was staring at it. But I stayed on that, I guess you could call it shallow springtime bite with that live scope for a while. And now I use it more as a tool I feel like it changes from fishing to hunting. That's what it does.
Right.
You're now the hunter, and you're hunting them. But it can also get you because a lot of the times those aren't fish that it's a hot spot or that they're feeding or that you've got confidence in.
Right. Would you
But-
say you use it the majority of the time now, or you just kind of 50-50?
Alatoona, I don't even hardly stare at it anymore. Like, say if I get mad or ill with them, I'm like, let me see if they're even over there. But I'm always learning, like, drop-offs and rock. And I'm a sucker for the active target. Like, everybody likes the live scope, the Garmin. But I like the Lowrance.
And what is it about that you like?
It carves the rock. To me, it carves the rock out better. And I feel like I can almost tell you what kind of fish it is. And I know you can already do that by the way that they stack up and by the way that they separate on the bottom at sometimes. But also, you can just look at them and you can tell. And it's crazy.
Yeah. What do you think about that there, Ryan?
Ryan's like, no way, contour lines, take me back, spinner baits and poppers and stuff, man stuff.
Well, no, Ryan throws a jig, though. I
I'm
mean,
just
you're on the jig. I mean, that's your bread and butter at times.
What color do you like the most? I haven't heard you say that. What about that Murphinator you tied up?
Can we be honest? He don't like the Murphinator.
You don't?
He don't like the Murphinator.
Hot dog. I think it's just because of his name.
Now, we like Murphy. If you're watching this later, we love you, Murphy. But
Dang right. Shout out to Murph. He's good people.
He's a good man. I pretty much, if you went over and got in my boat right now, there's like 5 colors of jig in my boat. That's like, I got black and blue, I got green and orange, like the Chattahoochee crawl style. I've got pumpernickel.
which has more of a reddish tint
which has
to
a
it.
reddish tint to it. And then I've got probably my favorite color to throw pretty much whenever I want to get a jig bite is the Chef Special, because I've been making that jig for a while and I've just thrown it a lot.
Right.
But if you had to take them all away from me and you told me I could only throw like 2 colors, it'd be Chef Special and Black Blue.
And the Chef Special is more of a barbed wire
It's
type.
a barbed wire green, and
Uh-huh.
it's got a little bit of smoke purple in it, which kind of helps dull the green down when you look at it in the water. And then it has a couple strands of this purple barbed wire in it.
Right.
And that's just pretty much like my go-to color.
Yeah.
I don't like shiny heads that, like at True Grit, like you'll see, like we pretty much like only have like flat colors, but I don't really like shiny heads. I just, I try not to stare too much in the head. Some people stare at heads too hard and they think that it matters. And if you just throw a flat colored head like what we have, it looks good to the jig. It color matches pretty good, but I'm really more concerned. See, I'll throw black and blue with like a green pumpkin trailer.
Right.
It's really, to me, my kind of jig fishing. When I jig fish, it's targets and it's what's on the back.
Right.
That's pretty much it. And I am like Casey. I start the tournament off, I've got 3/8 tied on, and then I'll let it dictate throughout the day. I pretty much throw only Arky head, and I throw either quarter, 3/8, or half. I really don't throw anything else. I know 90% of the time I'm throwing 3/8, but just 3/8 is a pretty versatile weight.
Right.
It's just, you can skip it, you can throw it in the junk. There's just a lot of different things that you can do with 3/8 as you can opposed to like half. If I'm on a really, 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 like the fish are like straight underneath like docks and stuff, you can bet your bottom dollar I got a 1/4 ounce tied on.
Right.
I want that slower fall rate, and they're underneath there, and that's not. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just more along the lines that I've caught more fish on a 1/4 ounce skipping docks like that than I have anything else. So, if it gets tough, we all talk about shaky head fishing. For me, when it gets tough, I cut the skirted jig off, and I tie a jig head on, and then I make those old spider jigs or creepy crawler jigs, and I throw one of them.
Right.
It's just a smaller profile. It's not as loud looking. It's not as thick, but it's still a jig. I've caught everything from 10-inch fish on a creepy crawler all the way up to 6-pounders.
Right.
You never know with a creepy crawler, what you're going to catch, and some people might crucify me for saying that, but I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I still remember to this day the first time I ever caught a fish on a creepy crawler. I mean, it's just like, this doesn't look like anything like I would throw, but I won a pretty good bit of money on a creepy crawler.
Right.
I mean, it's just different. It's just a little bit smaller profile, and it seems like when everybody else is throwing regular jigs and stuff around, you throw that creepy crawler around, it's just smaller, and it just seems to do.
They eat it.
They eat it.
They eat it.
Eat it.
One thing that's pretty interesting that you said that I've learned from you is that a lot of guys see these colors and all that, and they say, okay, it's got a green pumpkin or it's got a PB&J, but like on the Lanier smoke and stuff like that, you use an off color kind of in the middle to tone down or to give it a little bit of a different, kind of like we do with the purple, that smoke purple. You said smoke. So sometimes if you're tying your own jigs, it's not, you see the main color on the outside, but if you look closely, there's you have your bright accent sometimes that people put like chartreuse in there, but it's that one little subtle half tab to whatever of a different color that can tone, and lots of times you like to tone down as far as to brighten up. You use it more of a, how do you want to say that?
Yeah, for like a solid color, like for a PB&J like the Lanier smoke, you've got the chartreuse on there, but then in there is the little smoke, that purple smoke, and that pretty much kind of like doles down the PB&J actually in there, and then it lets those 4 strands of chartreuse kind of stick out on the back. Same thing like Tar Heel Crawl. It's got this green. It has the bluish green translucent skirt. Well, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a green pumpkin blue with a clear looking blue with some orange and some that powder Carolina blue on the bottom.
Right.
When you throw that thing in the water, that green pumpkin blue skirt actually disappears. And literally the only thing you see is that Carolina blue on the bottom, and then you see some of that orange. And what that actually does is it still lets you have a full profile of a jig, but when the fish see it, that jig doesn't look as big as you think it is. And what they actually probably see, and I don't know this because I'm not a bass, but just from my experience of it with that particular color with the Tar Heel Crawl, that green pumpkin disappears in the water, and it just has this blue shimmer to it with the orange and then that powder blue on the bottom. So all they see is the orange back with a little bit of Carolina blue. When it comes up, it kicks in their face like this, and then there's the grub. And it's like I always say to people, bass don't have pockets. They don't have hands.
Right.
They make a decision with their mouth. And they have to pick, if they don't want it in there, a lot of people's like jig fishing. Oh, well, they got to be eating crawfish to for their jig bite. That is about back-ass backwards as it can possibly be. Just because you're throwing a jig does not mean that you're sitting there emulating a crawfish. A lot of times, like what Casey was talking about, and he really gave y'all some serious juice on that chartreuse. You can put chartreuse. It don't take a whole lot of chartreuse on the back of those legs. I mean, we're talking like the very, very tips.
Look at the sunfish. You see
yeah,
them walk around the docks.
Yeah,
Look at them
exactly.
swimming around.
Exactly. So a jig is not just emulating a crawfish. A jig is emulating a brim. A jig is emulating crappie to a certain extent.
Anything.
I mean, it's just they have to make a bass has to make a decision on when that jig is in their face or near them, or like what Casey was saying earlier about. I think sometimes it's prettier than them.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like I always have this little old saying, and largemouth love purple and blue. But I don't necessarily think it's because they just, it's blue and purple, I gotta bite it. I think it kind of like, I think in like shallower water, like 15 feet or less, like a blue or purple, I think it stands out, and I think it's just something that triggers their predatory instincts. And like I said a few minutes ago, they ain't got pockets. So the only thing they can do is pick the thing up. And a lot of times, if you feel that first a lot of guys I've fished with and have taken fishing, you'll see their rod tip, and they'll grab that jig, and their rod tip go like that. Well, what that fish has actually done is he's come up behind that jig, and he's grabbed it, and he's crushed it, and then he's blowed it back out like this. And a lot of guys, they swing. Well, they took that jig away, and then that fish sits there. You're not going to get that fish to bite again. I don't care who you are, because that thing jerked away. Well, that wasn't something real. If they did that, and he ain't got it, just keep on dragging it, or whatever the particular day they're doing, keep hopping it or shaking it a little bit, because sometimes they'll come, crap, I didn't kill it. They'll go right back over there. Well, the second time they'll commit to it, they'll grab that thing, and all you'll feel is one thump, and damn, my line's swimming off.
Right.
And you reel down, you cross their eyes.
Right.
But for me, I'm opposite of Casey. I don't really. If I'm gonna go hunt a jig bite, I'm hunting a jig bite for like one fish. I always have a jig laying on the deck, but I don't really go out trying to let's put a pattern together and jig fish. That's just me personally.
Right.
But I've got like a dock with a tree laying down behind it that the owner hasn't taken care of, and that tree's been there for 15 years. Well, that thing's been there for the entire fish's life, and that tree's not going anywhere. That's that fish's home. And if old Jig just slides up in there and comes falling down through those little limbs and stuff through there, well, that's an intruder, you know. So they go over to it and they pick it up and they bite it. To the answer to the guys that say I don't have much confidence talking or fishing jigs, you got to really go. You got to go with the mindset of really that I'm not going to go out here and catch a ton of fish. You really got to. It's something that you can't just. It's not like pulling up and running down like a bare red clay bank with like a buzz bait or a pawpaw. Or, there's no fish here. No, you gotta fish, a lot of different stuff with a jig, just trying to figure out, what it is. I'm not the guy who's gonna sit on this brush pile for 45 minutes and drag a jig all the way around the clock to figure out which direction they're going to be on. I just personally, I just don't do that. We talked about that last week. It's there's my way, and then there's the wrong way and the right way, or whatever we call it.
Right, that's right.
But that's just me, because I want to capitalize on my time. In my experience, and I'm not saying this is law, because by far it's not. In my experience, though, if you throw a jig in a tree or a jig underneath a dock that has a brush pile out underneath it or out in front of it or something, generally your bigger fish is going to bite first. If they're down there and they're wanting to eat, generally the biggest fish will bite first. And if that fish runs and that fish runs around like crazy, no, certainly not. You can't throw back in there and catch another one. I'm, you know, that I skipped underneath the dock. The most fish I've caught out from underneath one dock's 13, and it was back to back to back to back to back. You know, it was just over and over and over again. But I catch one out of it, I might throw back in there again. But within another minute or two, if I don't get another bite, I move on. I go on to another one.
Right.
But you know, that's just me. That's just how I do it, and I guess you just call it's target specific for me.
You're target specific.
I'm very
right?
target specific.
Stephen Bardet, this is piggybacking on what Ryan was saying. Simulates everything in the water, and it's the most versatile bait that there is.
Amen to that.
But a lot of people don't feel that way. Because like I said, there was a comment today on the thing, and the guy goes, I'll pass. You know, mind-numbing jig fishing. That's what he called it.
Don't watch videos. Put time on the water.
Yeah.
And break the lake down. Like, say if you're going to go out there, instead of trying to cover the whole lake that day, tell yourself, I'm fishing the south side today. I'm fishing mid-lake today. All day. Because if you think you can cover the whole lake in a day,
Nope.
There's so much more stuff down there that your cricket hasn't even thought about touching.
But why do you think a lot of people have that mindset of jig fishing is just boring old and it's not versatile? I mean, when I have guys like you on and you talk about it, because I'll be honest, I was in that camp and I'm learning more and more about the jigs, listening to you guys and Ryan every day, and then actually getting out on the water and doing it. But the majority of people won't answer like Bardet, where he says most versatile bait that there is. It's like a lot of people got the mindset that it's a one-ticket bait and you can't do nothing with it.
Summertime's also different. It's nighttime. You know, you got that evening bite.
Right.
You know, say the last 2 years, I feel like 9 times out of 10 we got rain or overcast on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why I had confidence in the jig. If those sunny days, they'd spank my honey, because they would be fishing a worm, a Texas rig, or a weedless drop shot or something in brush, and they're spanking my honey, and I'm over there on my rocks,
Right.
holding hard to them, you know. And just because in the last couple of weeks I got burned, you know, because of it coming to the scales with 6 and 7 pounds. That's all that was on my rocks.
But
I had some brush, you know, that was there. I'm not saying it was mine by no means, but
Right.
I had a good bit of brush mapped out that you have scanned or whatever. And when I was getting bit, it was on wood.
It was on wood, so that's what
And,
you go to
yeah, I
concentrate
was-
on that. Whereas, like you're saying, you know, I'm gonna get my limit, but I'm going. Oh, that's what I meant to ask too, because you talked about, hey, if I catch a fish and I don't get another bite, I move on. Are you a quick mover? Are you a 1-2 cast, 3 cast go?
Spotted bass, there's more there always. Are they going to bite all the time? No. But there's been a lot of times to where, like, I wish I had some of them with me. Like, my jigs are so mangled up. Like, I've caught 30 fish that night. Like, be wore out certain times and just be like, I had a blast, you know. Now, granted, we had 9 pounds in the box, but I was pumped. That
Right,
9
yeah.
pounds meant something that night. Everybody's catching 4 to 8.
Right.
You know, and it's just tough. I mean, there's some dadgum hammers down there that I have followed ever since I was this tall.
Right.
And they're coming in with 6 pounds. And I'm scratching my head like, golly, you know, what's going on? But it's just tough. Pressure.
Yeah.
Lanier's getting the same way. My partner went over there Monday, and he was telling me about it, and it was insane how tough it was, which I know that they just went through a crazy feeding frenzy, and the water's probably turning over now.
Yeah.
But it's definitely cooling down. I feel like that Seville and that wide open stuff's up top. I heard y'all talking about the glide bait. You can definitely slow it down a little bit right now and get bit. But
I got you.
I think they're feeding up a lot at night right now. Nighttime, they got that full moon going right now. They're pulling water at night. I think they're doing a lot of that.
How that's a good question. How important is current to jig fishing?
I'm not current. Like, of course, you know, it always helps. But you can go up in the river and definitely count on a jig every single time. But I fish it on main lake Stillwater also. But I mean, there's some areas on the lake to where I can't get bit unless it's a washing machine. If it's a washing machine, you can guarantee I'm headed there.
Yeah.
Because they will light it up all day long.
Yeah.
But if it's calm and slick and there's 2 boats out on the water because it was raining that evening and all the jet skis and pleasure boaters have eased up, You know, you might have a chance at those main lake guys instead of being secondary near as much, because those people, I mean, there's some people, they'll just land right in the middle of the lake and they'll just fight through it, you know, and ride 4 foot, 5 foot waves from those yachts. But also there's those people that they just opt to go secondary until about 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around, until those yachts are easing down and everybody's chilling out. Then they'll try their main lake stuff a little bit more and poke them out.
Well, let me ask you this question, because we're getting close to the end right there. Or let me read Barday's statement
That's a good
first.
one. That's what I do.
You can take the same jig down the bank, throw it in the brush, skip a dock, work a blowdown, swim it in the grass, swim it by a dock, fish a rock pile, ditch ledge, and never change rods.
That's what I do with a half-ounce swim jig. You just hit everything you see that looks good, and you'll get fish.
Yeah,
I love jig fishing.
I know you do. So I want to get this question in real quick, because we're getting close to the end here. How does a jig bite change, or how do you change when it becomes nighttime? Still work it the same? Change it up a little bit? Anything like that? So
I'm definitely trying to crash into whatever I'm in, or bang into it, or hop around it, or.
Are you a little more aggressive with it at
Yeah, I
night?
try to be a little bit. And some nights you just have to, you know, drag it like others. But also, say if you're fishing a pile, you've done learned your pile. Like, got a certain spot, you go to it, and you literally pull over the limb, and you can feel it like, oh, well, there's that limb. Like, every time it's like you're just ready. As soon as you know, whenever you come over that limb and it starts to fall, you don't get bit right there. And we fished a tournament. We had one fish at 1 o'clock. And because my partner, he hadn't fished Allatoona while, and I had been honed into those Monday nighters and Wednesday nighters, fishing it a good bit. And I got on the boat, front of the boat at 1 o'clock. He fished the front of the boat all day, and we had just struggled. The way that we were fishing and how we were trying to catch them, they were really tight to cover that day. But 4 fish in the boat, and like that right there, coming over a limb, like I was saying. Could feel the jig come over the limb. As soon as sometimes you would get it hung up. Well, I got lucky that day. Every time I was able to come over it. And as soon as it would fall, I'd be like, oh, there he was. That tick.
But you just knew.
It wasn't like a bam bam, how you were talking about. You can see them hit the line or hit your rod. Here, the last month or so, it's been more of a tick. You know, it was just a small tick, and just like he was talking about in those timbers, it's those suspenders. They're just coming out and grabbing it, that tick. And if you're down deep enough, you can't see it. You got to watch that line.
Gotcha. All right, well,
A little bit of one thing to talk about real fast is if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about jig fishing, wanting to get confidence, and if you just don't know what to do at night, per se, if you find you, after July 4th, if you find you a dock that has poles in it that's keeping the floating dock still, and you have a light on the bank, not in the water, on the bank, like a floodlight, or there's a floodlight on the dock up underneath it. If you skip that jig up to the walkway and then turn the boat back, and then you drag that jig and you try to pop it off the pole, 7 out of 10 times there's a fish that's, as soon as you hit that thing, pop that off the pole, you're going to feel it pull back.
Triggers them.
Yeah, it just, for some reason, it's like, I just say July 4th to people as a joke, but it just seems to be like around July and August.
Right.
Like that time of year, like you can just roll up, and it's not on everyone, but a lot of times you skip that thing up underneath the walkway and then pull the boat out and drag that jig and knock it off the pole on the bottom.
Right.
When it tink off that pole, then it goes boom.
They annihilated the jig for me this summer. I don't know what it was, but the jig, it was just, that's why you've heard me. I've been nothing but jig power.
Real quick question. We'll end it up with this Michael Temple's last question. Do you ever spray any cover scent on a jig?
I mean, I used to spray the bang and stuff like that, but now I'm a JJ's guy. Dip it and get gone. If it's a real dark night, like there's not a lot of moon, you can just tell it's one of those darker nights. And of course, I'm dipping it all the way to the hook. I'll just drop it in there. You
Right.
know, probably getting a little bit of skirt. I'm getting so carried away with it. But then there's other nights to where I'm barely touching it.
And
just
JJ's
literally.
has got that garlic scent. And all
I'm just
that
a
too.
sucker
That's
for
something.
JJ's.
It is. A lot of people like that. WD-40?
Yeah.
Is that a little bit of juice there, Ryan? WD-40?
If you get your jar of JJ's Magic, and you go over there outside and you just pour about this much of it out in a brand new jar, and you take a can of WD-40 and fill it up to the top right there, right below the lid, and then put the lid back on, shake it up real good. WD-40 mixed in with that garlic leaves like this weird trail. I don't really. It has this weird.
There you go.
Weird
There's a little juice right there. So
it's if you look on the back of the jar WD-40, it actually says, it's been used as fish attractant.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and look.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So there you go. There's a little bit of juice right there at the
Well,
end.
that's
WD-40.
my wombo combo with orange.
Wombo
and,
combo.
Orange and chartreuse. I always pour a little bit of it out and then fill it up with the rest of it up a little bit of WD-40.
Gotcha. Well, all right, guys, we're gonna end on that thing. A lot of you guys are saying good night again. We want to thank, first of all, Casey for coming up here.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy these people. They're all good people. They have good intentions.
We do have good intentions. We're good people. Well, and you're
Good
good people. You're good people. And
Appreciate that.
listen, and I ain't blowing smoke up your butt, but Ryan can tell you when your name comes up, there's a couple of guys that come in here all the time that I see, and I always say when you come up here, I said, listen, he's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you just coming.
I've been humbled my whole entire life.
That's the best way to be.
I've ate humble pie for a while.
I know, but that's good.
I'm not afraid of it.
I
It'll
know.
make you a man.
Well, you're a hard worker too, and all that. You take care of your family, and your family's always important to you. And
Shout out to my family.
That's right. You're
They're
always
the
telling
reason
me
why
about.
I get to do what I get to do.
That's right, and your wife and all that for letting you sit out in the truck and listen to us on those nights and stuff like that. But we generally do. We think very highly of you here as a person.
I appreciate
And in that,
that.
so
I
you're
really
really
do.
good. I
I
always-
think high you guys.
Well, thank you. Every time your name comes up, I'm like, no, he's a dude. He's a cool dude. You just got to get to know this guy. So again, but thank you very much.
we got a tournament Sunday at Lanier, Cherokee County Bass Club.
Cherokee County
I'm
Basketball.
excited.
You got a
So
tournament
do
Sunday.
we.
Yeah, Georgia High School will be
We're
there.
not a huge club. There's only a few boats.
Yeah, so that's good. So like that.
How many of y'all are going to be out there?
Gosh,
That
I'm
probably, I would say-
200 plus?
It wouldn't be that big. It's
I'm
going to be
just
100. So, again, guys, thank you very much, Eric, for coming up here every Thursday night. Thank you to my
Absolutely.
partner in crime right here, Ryan. Thank you, Paul, back there for pressing the buttons
Shout out
and
to
doing what you
Paul.
do. You do a great job. All you guys, hey, listen, we will be open tomorrow and Saturday. You guys come up and see me. And like that, and for those of you that have placed orders, thank you very much. We're getting them out as fast as we can. Make sure you, it is Jig Week, that's right. Hey, listen, actually Jig Month for the rest of October, 10% off at Fish North Georgia. Type in Jig Week 10 at checkout. You get 10% off of anything on the site. We're going to be adding to the stuff. It's coming. If we could ever catch up on the jigs, we got a lot of good stuff. This man's got a lot of good stuff coming and got a lot of stuff planned for the future. So we're going to grow and we appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, join the Facebook group page at Fish North Georgia. And also you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. TikTok is True Grit. Go to True Grit, on Facebook as well. You can keep up with a lot of stuff. We got a lot of products, but I appreciate you guys. I know the Braves were on tonight. We're going to leave here, go home, watch the Braves game. I hope Kurt Wehunt, I love you, but I hope they put you out tonight just because I don't want to listen to Ron Darling's.
Awful.
Ron Darling is awful. He is the most biased SO
Awful.
that ever called a ball game. So I wouldn't give a squirt of pee for him right now. But anyway, go Braves. We love you. We'll see you here next Thursday night. You guys be good and be safe.